This is going to be south of the turnpike. Let's drop these blue boxes off, and just so you can see what we're looking at here, we think that is the tornado debris right there. So it's south of Andover, south of Kellogg, and now mostly in Butler County. So East Wichita, Eastern Sedgwick County, we're going to give you the all clear. Let's go back to the video. Happening now. Again, we emphasize this is not from 5 minutes ago. This is happening at the moment. This is a tornado. It looks to be a little weaker than it was about 5 minutes ago, but we still have the dust getting kicked up. The circulation is still very much in contact with the ground. By definition, the circulation from the base of the cloud has to reach the ground, and when that happens, we have a tornado. Other things to note in this vantage point here, notice the blue sky surrounding the tornado. This is happening on the back part of the storm, and so the heavy rain and the hail has already moved away from this area. That's what's now moving over toward Augusta. It does appear that the tornado is fairly small. It does appear that it's moving through an open field, and we're going to hope that we don't get any damage from this, but we still, at the moment, have a tornado, and it's happening now as we track this storm that's moving through western sections of Butler County. Again, this is going to be south of Kellogg, south of the turnpike, and the storm continues to move to the east. I do see a new tornado warning coming up now for Harvey County. So let's kick it back over to Peyton and get an update here as what we're getting this new tornado warning now for Harvey County.
Yeah, so we're still watching this line of thunderstorms. If we can take me with Max 1 as well, and we can take a look at the radar picture here. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor our feed behind the scenes of this tornado that is in progress over eastern sections of Sedgwick County and western Butler County. But this is the new tornado warning that has just been issued. And if you notice here, there's a white outline around it. That is indications from us from the National Weather Service that this also does have a confirmed tornado with it. So this is a new tornado warning. It's going to include the western sections of Marion and northeastern sections of Harvey counties until 8:45. You can see the source there is observed, meaning that this is a confirmed tornado. And we take a look at the rotation here. What I would suspect is that it's going to be somewhere, anywhere along the leading edge of the line of thunderstorms that we could potentially be looking at a spin up, kind of on any of these little notches. So southwestern portions of Marion County, kind of in one or two locations. So in Hillsborough, take your tornado precautions at this point in time. This storm is pushing off to the east. The one that we had the tornado video is the one here for eastern Sedgwick and into central and western Butler County. This includes El Dorado. Let's go back over to Ross, and of course Storm Team 12 Storm Chaser Scott Roberts still with the live video on this storm as well.
Yeah, Peyton, we just want to keep this up in front of you, but also letting you know that the tornado threat now is southeast of Andover. So if you're in Augusta, if you're back to the west of Augusta, right here along Highway 400 now, just southeast of Andover, you need to remain in your storm shelter. Again, we do have confirmation of a tornado. Scott Roberts is on it. So that's the area that we're looking at. It's southeast of Andover, appears to be fairly small and an open area. Let's go back over to Scott Roberts' video. Again, these are live pictures coming into the storm center. So, okay, let's go ahead and join, sorry, this is Lance. Okay, Lance Ferguson, one of our chasers. Lance, what are you seeing?
Ross, I'm here with Scott, who's got the live stream on it. We are 3 miles due south of Andover on Andover Road. We're looking to the northeast now. This thing has been on the ground for a good 10 minutes. We have had power flashes. It has crossed Andover Road, has probably gone through the city of Andover, and it's still going. We have a cone all the way to the ground. We have debris all the way up to the funnel, almost to the cloud base. It is still going.
Okay, thanks very much, Lance Ferguson and Scott Roberts teaming up. We want to keep these pictures up, but it's also very important to let you know where this thing is headed. At the moment, Angela, it does sound like this tornado has passed to the south of Andover, so there could be some damage in that area. Lance Ferguson reporting some power flashes in that area. That storm now, again, shifting south and east of Andover. So here's what you need to do. If you're southeast of Andover, right along Kellogg or 400, this is the Sedgwick-Butler County line right here. And of course, Augusta is going to be in path for this storm too. You need to move to a place of safety. Don't try to go out and try to spot this thing. It's been on the ground for several minutes. Lance reporting about 10 to 15 minutes it's been on the ground. And we do have his live pictures up. So let's go back over and look at that, because this just kind of emphasizes the danger that we're up against right now, dealing with a tornado in progress. And again, we believe this has passed just to the south of the Andover area. We believe it's crossed over Andover Road. It's going to be south of Highway 400 and continuing to make its way on to the east. If you're in Augusta, you are next in line for this storm. We're going to hope that it lifts before it gets there, but we do want to emphasize that we continue with the tornado happening at the moment. These are not old videos that we're showing you here. This is happening at the moment, and we do have a tornado happening at the present time. Back over to radar, and we'll try to keep that picture up as often as we can, but I wanted to show you because it looks like the tornado now has just crossed over Kellogg there, passing to the east of Andover, and let's see if we can pick up on some of the debris signatures that would be showing up on radar. Okay, not seeing it from that vantage point there, but we definitely know based on the ground truth that we have coming from Scott Roberts that we have that circulation now to the east of the Andover area. So let's go in a little bit closer here, get some other towns to pop up. Here's Leon, here's Augusta. So we're sounding the alarm here for areas east of Andover and to the west of Augusta. We have a tornado that's happening at the present time. We can still see it, and we're going to bring that video back up. So west of Augusta, right along 400, that's where it is right now. And as you can see from Scott Roberts, Lance Ferguson, to chasers that have been with us for a very long time, continuing to document here a tornado that's happening, and this continues to be something that's on the ground. It looks to me like we're dealing with a bit of a stovepipe situation here, basically equal width at the base of the cloud as it is down at the ground, but that continues to make its way closer to Augusta. It does look like it's passed to the southeast of Andover, and now this is the Kansas Turnpike here. And now it looks like to me it's north of Highway 400, south of the Turnpike, and continuing to move to the northeast. Peyton, let's go back over to you. We need to update the tornado warning up in Harvey County and near the Hillsborough area.
Yeah, so we did get a report of a tornado that was near Gossel. That was confirmed a few minutes ago. So tornado warning does continue here for the western sections of Marion County, also into the northern part of Harvey County. This does include the north side of Newton. And we'll put the radar over the past 1 hour, and you can see these storms rapidly developing along a cold front that is pushing off to the east. So anywhere along the leading edge of this line of thunderstorm activity, there could be a tornado that could spin up. Not seeing anything from the wind motive radar that is indicating that we're looking at any sort of a significant sort of rotation at this point in time, but we did get the confirmed report of the tornado earlier as that passed near Gossel. You go up here along this line, our strongest area of rotation is in Morris County. This is starting to get into the Topeka coverage area, but we'll cover it briefly here. There is strong rotation here around White City, and that is an area of thunderstorm activity that is also pushing off to the east. So if you're watching us from White City, take your tornado precautions. Council Grove, you are currently not under the tornado warning. But yes, farther north along this line, we also have tornado warnings. We're also continuing to monitor that storm with that confirmed tornado earlier that has now crossed into Butler County. Sedgwick County no longer included within the tornado warning. Let's go back over to Ross with more information.
All right, Peyton, and just getting another sample from the radar. Again, it looks like this storm now east of Andover. This is the Turnpike here, the Sedgwick-Butler County line. As Peyton just mentioned, the tornado warning has been dropped for Sedgwick County. The picture that you're looking at there on the left continues to come in from Scott Roberts and Lance Ferguson. They've been documenting this tornado now for better than 15 minutes. It started out as a very brief rope-like structure and now turned into more of a cone. I think when we talked to Lance, the last he described it as a cone tornado, at times kind of looking stovepipe, where it's the same width at the base of the cloud as it is down at the ground, and now that has shifted to the east of Andover. So if you're east of Andover, right along into the south of the Turnpike, and I would even suggest for those of you in Augusta to be on the safe side as this storm does approach. There's a pretty good chance it's probably going to stay northwest of Augusta, but this continues to be a dangerous situation here. I believe this is the circulation right here east of Andover now. We do have, when we talked to Scott Roberts and Lance Ferguson a little while ago, they did confirm there were some power flashes. Now, we have not received any significant damage so far, but it's still early and the storm is still happening. There still very likely is a tornado in progress happening to the east of Andover, and this little blob that's showing up right here on the Turnpike could very easily be the tornado with some of the debris, something that we're able to use Doppler radar here, trying to see if we can see the debris on radar, and using this particular product here, not really picking up on that at the moment. But I think what we've got going on right there on the turnpike appears to be the ongoing tornado situation that's happening. And so please, if you're in that area, the safest option is getting below ground. Basements are always going to be the safest place to try to ride out a tornado. If that's not an option, closets, bathrooms, good places to go. So Towanda, looks like the storm could be moving closer to you. Here's Benton, the Sedgwick-Butler County line. Looks like this is going to pass, if we're continuing to have a tornado, should stay well to the south of the Benton area. And it looks like right along the turnpike, it's starting to look, and we're starting to feel more confident to give the all clear to Augusta, that the tornado is going to be southwest of Towanda, now northeast of Andover, south of Benton, and this storm continues to make its way right up the Kansas Turnpike. Watching over the last hour, you see that back edge, that sort of appendage to this storm here. That would suggest that there is some debris being kicked up by the storm as it goes on to the northeast. We do have meteorologist Cassie Wilson, who's been out in our Storm Team 12 mobile weather lab. She's been making her way back down Interstate 135. Cassie, can you provide us an update on where you are and what you're seeing?
Hey Ross, I just want to give you an update here. We're driving south. We are just outside of Sedgwick, and I'm keeping an eye on a storm that's forming just to the west of Sedgwick County, just south of Halstead. I want to give you an eye on what we're kind of keeping a closer look on with this storm. You can see I am seeing some raw cloud feature coming out of the base of the cloud deck here in the distance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a severe thunderstorm warning being prompted for western and northwestern Sedgwick County. Shortly here, I would be watching areas like Sedgwick for some hazards that could be heading our way, but we are currently still trying to make our way to that severe thunderstorm warning that is in Butler County, as well as that tornado warning. But I do want to bring people's attention to this thunderstorm that is to the north and the west of Sedgwick at this hour. Back to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Cassie. She's making her way back in from watching storms up in north central Kansas earlier this evening. We have confirmed reports of some damage on this storm that's passed to the south and east of the Andover area, even some unconfirmed reports of a possible injury. So stay with us through the rest of the evening. We've sort of accelerated very quickly in the last 20 to 30 minutes, this cold front running into all this humidity, and the storms are starting to get a bit more energized here. And what we're dealing with now is this tornado warning in Butler County. Benton over here on the left part of your screen, it does look like if we're still getting a tornado, and we're kind of looking at some video off air, suggesting that there may still in fact be a tornado with this storm. It's passing to the northwest of Augusta, and now safely we can give the all clear to Andover, but the storm is just northeast of Andover, right here along the Kansas Turnpike. And as we take a look at this here over the last hour, the storm continues to make its way to the northeast, so we cannot give the all clear to Towanda. You would potentially be next in line if the storm continues to produce a tornado, and it now looks like it would pass to the northwest of the Augusta area. Obviously a very dangerous storm, as we do have this severe thunderstorm continuing to produce a lot of rotation here, working its way up the Kansas Turnpike, a dangerous situation there. We've also got the tornado warning in Harvey County. We haven't forgotten about those of you around Newton. Let's go back over to Peyton and get a quick update on what's happening to the north of Wichita up into Harvey County.
Yeah, so we do have the tornado warning that does continue its northeastern sections of Harvey into western Marion counties. As we join our listeners here on KFDI as well, as we're tracking those tornado warnings in eastern Sedgwick. Eastern Sedgwick has been dropped, but western sections of Butler County continuing under tornado warning. We also have tornado warnings for northeastern Harvey and the western part of Marion County. This line of storms from Hillsborough about to head toward Peabody is pushing off in an easterly direction. About 20 minutes ago, we did have a report of a brief tornado east of Gossel. So you can see Gossel there on your screen. And this line continues to push off in an easterly direction here into Marion County. So we'll see if we get any sort of new tornado warnings issued a little bit farther east, downstream from this line. But we're going to continue to monitor that situation. Certainly lots of heavy rainfall. And then you go even farther up the line, this is certainly another what is likely, I mean, it'd be hard pressed to say that this isn't a tornado on the ground just east of White City. This is in Morris County. This is getting outside of our viewing area, heading up into the Topeka coverage area, but that's another area of circulation there just to the east of White City, pushing off to the east. So anywhere along this leading edge of these lines of storms, there is the possibility that we could get another brief spin-up tornado, something that we're watching. And of course, the storm of the moment that we've been looking at here over the course of the past 30 minutes or so is the one that has moved through eastern Sedgwick and into portions of Butler County. Again, as Ross mentioned, we're continuing to look at reports here behind the scenes of some potential damage there as those storms affected portions of Butler County. So we're going to continue to keep a close eye on this storm as it continues to push up toward the northeast. Ross.
And Peyton, thanks very much. Just kind of resetting everything here in south central Kansas again. For eastern Sedgwick County, the tornado warning has been dropped, but very much continuing for Butler County. We're looking at areas back to the west of El Dorado. You know, one of the big concerns for those of you watching our coverage is who's next in line and where is this thing at the present time? Well, we're still looking at an area along and to the north of the turnpike. We've also seen some areas that would be somewhat suspicious to the north of Augusta. We can give the all clear to Andover. It's now past that area, working its way through western sections of Butler County. So we're still continuing with our tornado threat here. It looks like it's to the southeast of Benton. There's some concern there. And then I've been looking at another area that's back here to the northwest of Augusta, but all of this east of Andover. So both north and south of the Kansas Turnpike, we have areas where we're seeing rotation. Now, Scott Roberts has been monitoring this situation, and
He's saying that the funnel has lifted.
okay, so we do believe that the funnel has lifted. That report coming from Scott Roberts, who's been chasing with us for more than 10 years. And you're looking, for those of you listening on KFDI out and about this evening, for those of you in Butler County, at the moment, it does sound like the tornado has lifted. For those of you continuing with our coverage here on KWCH 12, the picture on the left part of the screen is from Scott Roberts. And again, we believe the tornado that had been on the ground for more than 10 minutes has lifted, but we are hearing reports of some damage. Of course, it's very early on. We don't know to what extent. We don't know of any possible injuries, but I will tell you this, the last thing we would want you to do tonight is get in your car and try to go out and start surveying damage, because we're getting in now on nightfall, so you're not going to be able to see. The emergency crews need to get in and assess the damage, try to figure out if people might be trapped, if they need some help. Whatever recovery and rescue efforts need to happen, those need to take place first. Please do not try to go out and survey the damage for yourself, because in this situation, and Lance Ferguson reported this earlier, they were seeing some power flashes. So one has to think that given the fact that this storm traveling through a populated area, there's probably going to be some power lines down, and we just don't know whether or not those would still be live or not. So there's a lot of things that are going to be changing here as we go through the next several minutes. But at the moment, we want to stay with this tornado warning that does continue in Butler County. I'd be concerned about an area now approaching Augusta. The original circulation that was passed over the turnpike looks like that's gone now. Peyton?
Yeah, we've got a new tornado warning here real quick. This is for Greenwood County. So new tornado warning for Greenwood County. Let's pull up the radar here and I can show you what's happening. We've got the storm that we've been looking at here around El Dorado, and this is one's a little bit farther to the east now. So really any of these storms that are out ahead of this cold front gonna be in an environment that is conducive for the potential to produce tornadoes, even as they're developing rather quickly. So this is the brand new tornado warning. I'll bring up the information here for you, and you can see this warning goes until 9:15. The source here, radar indicated. So unlike some of the other storms tonight where we've had confirmed tornadoes, this one is just based on the winds on radar showing some rotation. So to the west of Eureka, this is a new tornado warning. This storm is moving off toward the northeast, so heads up in Eureka as this storm continues to head your way. Not a guarantee that we're going to see a tornado produce out of this storm too, but certainly just given the kind of the history of what has unfolded here over the past 30 minutes, it just goes to show you that the environment here across south central Kansas is primed, especially here as we're still just before sunset, for the potential for some stronger storms that could potentially produce tornadoes. So again, that's the newest tornado warning that we have there for Greenwood County. Ross?
And Peyton, I'm noticing something too, looking at this storm very close to Augusta, as it looks like we're starting to see it redevelop now to the in and around and maybe just north of Augusta. We could be looking at another developing tornado there. So please, if you're in Augusta, this looks like now it may be the prime area. If we see something additional develop, that's probably where it's going to be. It's going to be north of Highway 400, El Dorado. There's Leon. So we're looking at this area now south of the Turnpike, north of Augusta. This would be the most dangerous place for a possible tornado to try to develop out of. And there you see kind of refining here the tornado warning, which includes Augusta, El Dorado going to be part of this as well. It does include areas just north of Leon. That circulation now looks like it's just a mile or two to the north of Augusta, but we cannot give the all clear to Augusta. That is a very dangerous area to be in at the present time, as we continue with a storm that has a history of producing tornadoes. What has happened in the last 20 to 30 minutes, our initial tornado that was produced, that actually went up here and passed just to the southeast of Benton. You'll see it right there, and it collapses. We've had a new circulation develop now very close to Augusta. That's passing to the north of town and will likely pass to the south of El Dorado here as we continue on through the next several minutes. So the circulation right here that we're looking at just to the northeast of Augusta, a very dangerous place to be in. Let's widen our view out and kind of set everything up. We've had multiple tornado warnings issued. Still concerned about something near Augusta. You've got this tornado warning that Peyton mentioned a little while ago over into central Greenwood County. And then we haven't forgotten about those areas up here in Harvey County, because again, this continues to be a developing line of thunderstorms that we're seeing developing back to the southwest. And so there is some concern that we may, radar is still showing the possibility of something developing up here to the northeast of the Newton vicinity. But as we go in a little bit closer, it's been some time since we've had anything confirmed on this storm up here in Harvey County. But safest option, just to ride out the storm in a basement if you can, closets, bathrooms, just a reminder about all the safety precautions, because it's been a while since we've been through this sort of thing. And maybe you're new to Kansas and you've never been through this sort of thing before. Below ground is a good option. If you're in an apartment building, you want to try to get to a low level if at all possible. Sometimes time doesn't allow for that sort of thing, so you want to put as many walls between you and the approaching storm as you possibly can. But multiple tornado warnings. If you're just now coming across our coverage, we've had reports of some damage in and around the Andover area. We don't know what part of town. We don't know to what extent that might be, but do us all a favor and please just stay home tonight as the crews get out there and try to figure out, first of all, how bad or how widespread the damage might be. We watched it all unfold here on KWCH 12 with Scott Roberts out in the field. He's still out there tonight as we take another look here at the storm in Butler County. You're looking at pictures there. That's Scott Roberts' live video there, some trees in the foreground as he gets into clear view now. Ominous looking sky. We don't see what we were seeing 15, 20, even 30 minutes ago with the tornado in progress, but obviously there is still some concern looking at this feature on radar that the tornado, if there's going to be one, additionally developing out of this storm, it's going to be to the north of Augusta. And you can see there's Benton, there's Towanda. It looks to me like it's going to pass to the south of Towanda, now shifting north of Augusta. El Dorado. We want to give you as much time to plan and prepare. Maybe the storm's going through a cycling phase. Maybe as it passes over town, there will be a brief tornado reported. We just don't know. But this history of the storm is something that we don't want to overlook. And it has produced a tornado that was on the ground for more than 10 minutes. In fact, Lance Ferguson, when he talked to us about 15 minutes ago, suggested it was maybe closer to 15 minutes that it had been in progress. But now that circulation looks like it's well to the north of Augusta and continues to work its way on up, maybe closer to El Dorado. We'll see if anything comes out of that. But a little bit more broad in terms of our rotation, spread out maybe over 3-4 miles. So at the moment, we don't believe there to be a tornado happening since the rotation is fairly spread out, but the storm could organize and maybe later on in its life cycle produce something additional. Let's go back over to Peyton.
Yeah, Ross, still keeping an eye on those tornado warnings that we have a little bit farther north. I can say that the storms are now pushing out ahead of the tornado warnings, and the one that we have for Marion in the northeastern part of Harvey counties goes until 8:45. We'll see if they're going to issue any new tornado warnings. But for the time being, the Weather Service has just issued new severe thunderstorm warnings, as these storms continuing to push off to the east could also be producing some strong straight line winds. This is the portion of the storms that I'm talking about here. still producing heavy rainfall in Newton, eastern sections of Harvey County, right up through into Marion County. These storms moving off in an easterly direction pretty quickly, and these could also continue to backbuild through Sedgwick County. I know getting pictures in from the west side of Wichita of darkening skies back up toward the northwest. These are storms developing along a cold front that could produce some hail and gusty winds potentially if these storms hold together into Sedgwick County. A little bit farther up north, this is getting into Topeka's coverage area. We have storms that are producing, could be a tornado there in the northeastern part of Morris County, I should say, north of Council Grove. That is about to head into Wabaunsee County. Again, that is getting outside of our area. We also have a tornado warning here. This is going to include Greenwood County. It does include the town of Eureka. This storm is pushing off in a northeasterly direction. The rotation here on radar does not look overly strong, so that's at least some good news, but it is in an environment that does favor the potential for a tornado as storms continue to develop. So that's kind of why this warning was issued, just anticipating that possibility and kind of given the history of what has happened here over the course of the past 45 minutes into Butler County. So that's kind of the latest on other warnings that we're tracking around the state. Let's send it back over to Ross with more information.
Yeah, and Peyton, just noting this tornado warning that continues in Butler County still looks like one of the most dangerous areas to be right now. I think the storm kind of going through an organizing phase here to the south of El Dorado. This is going to be well removed from Towanda. The Kansas Turnpike right here, Highway 400 down here at the bottom part of your screen. The area that we're most interested in is to the northeast of Augusta, and to give you some idea of what kind of distance we're talking about from El Dorado south, you know, this is a good 7 to 8 miles back to the southwest of El Dorado. The rotation seems to be fairly spread out, but as we've noted throughout the evening, the situation can change very rapidly. We went from having just a couple of thunderstorms on radar to tornado-producing storms, and now you can see that this storm is really starting to wrap itself up once again now northeast of Augusta. Looks like it's passing to the northwest of Leon. So if you know anybody that lives in this area, farmsteads, those that live outside of town, you know, that aren't going to pop up on a storm track that we're going to draw for you, they need to be knowing and understanding just how dangerous this storm continues to be. It does have a history of producing tornadoes. We believe there to be some damage. We don't know to what extent and just exactly where all of that has taken place, but this is a storm that does have a history of producing tornadoes and now has moved on to the northeast of Augusta, so we can give the all clear to Augusta. The rotation there passing to the south of El Dorado. It looks to me like this is probably going to stay to the south of El Dorado, so obviously some encouraging signs there. But if we track this northeast at 20 to 25, again, we're not going to get towns to pop up in our storm track here, but I would say northwest of Leon, certainly south of El Dorado, please be moving to your safe place. If you've not done that already, now's not the time to be going out on your front porch and kind of scanning the skies for yourself, because as you're noting, you know, the sun's gone down for the day. It's going to be very difficult to see exactly what's going on. So what do you do if you're in the path of the storm? Lowest, most center portion of your home. Basements are always going to offer the best protection. Get under a sturdy bench, a table, a desk, whatever it may be that could protect you from anything that might fall from above, especially for little kids. You know, if you're in the path of this storm and, you know, a refrigerator, a freezer, something like that, very heavy, falls to the floor, you just don't want to be underneath of that. If you can go under the stairwell, another good place to be. Not a guarantee that this storm is going to produce another tornado, but this is a dangerous storm, and we can't emphasize it enough. Starting to go through another cycling phase here where it may be organizing, it may produce another tornado, and if it does, it's going to be northwest of Leon, and it looks to me like it could be south of El Dorado. So that continues to be an area that we're watching very carefully to see what happens there. If you're in El Dorado, again, safest option is to move to a place of safety, and that is getting below ground if at all possible. Let's go ahead and get you updated on other storms. We have not had any confirmation of a tornado near Eureka or Greenwood County. Good news there. We're getting a new severe thunderstorm warning now for a big chunk of Sedgwick County, including the city of Wichita. This is our cold front. This thin green line right here is the front, and we've got this narrow line of storms that's rapidly developing, what we say back building to the southwest. So we're starting to see storms develop back into the western part of Sedgwick County, and so this line of thunderstorms here are capable of producing very heavy rainfall and strong winds. The tornado warning for Harvey County expiring at 8:45, so we can give the all clear now to eastern parts of Harvey County. We do have meteorologist Cassie Wilson still out in the mobile weather lab. Cassie, you might give us a quick update here on where you are. We know you're back in the metro area, but what kinds of things have you seen since you've been out kind of covering these storms in and around the Wichita area?
All right, Ross, we are on 235 and we are heading, just kind of wrapping around out by the Maze area. I had just placed a call out with meteorologist Jake Dunn to see what he was seeing at his house. He's out in Maze, and he was saying that he's seeing a little bit of some lowering as well as some rotation within the cloud structure itself. Not necessarily a wall cloud or anything too concerning quite yet, but we're kind of keeping a really close eye on the last push here of where this cold front is taking over the dry line, and where we are within that severe thunderstorm warning within Sedgwick County. So we're keeping a closer eye on, you can see we're just passing underneath Zoo Boulevard. We are heading right now. We're keeping a close eye on what this storm is doing on the west side of Wichita, and we're going to continue to track it and stay with it here. But for now, nothing too concerning to report.
That's meteorologist Cassie Wilson, just kind of setting you up with what we're seeing here on radar, because this line of storms is developing now from western parts of the county right up into Harvey County. It actually goes a lot further than that as we take a look at what's happening up here in western section or eastern Marion County, western Chase County. We follow that line of storms up into Morris County. This line of storms, heavy rainfall and strong winds, are going to be the primary threat. We also still have that tornado warning ongoing up there in portions of Wabaunsee County that of course Peyton was talking about there, getting out of our coverage area. So these two storms at the moment, the one that's near El Dorado and the other one that's over here in Greenwood County, both of these continue to have some rotation with it, although they are running out of time, and we believe that the cold front is eventually going to catch up and intercept some of these storms, and our tornado threat will decrease very quickly. But at the moment, we do continue with this tornado warning in Butler County. We don't believe there to be a tornado happening at the present time, but if you're in El Dorado, safest option here for the next 10-20 minutes or so would be to ride this out in the basement, closet, bathroom, get below ground if at all possible. It's always your safest option if a tornado is in fact produced from this storm to the south of El Dorado. Looks like it will safely stay to the northwest of Leon. But this continues to be a very dangerous storm. There you can see still a broad scale rotation there to the south of El Dorado by several miles, but it's still so close, and we cannot give the all clear to El Dorado at the moment as the tornado warning does continue in Butler County, a dangerous storm happening there. We do know that Andover continues in a severe thunderstorm warning there. We've got another line of storms approaching. So for those that are the emergency crews that are getting out trying to assess the damage, try to help somebody that might have some injuries or whatnot, it does look like we have another line of storms that will be coming in from the northwest. And as it does approach, we're not expecting tornadoes. We can say that. This is probably going to be heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning, and a threat of some strong winds. And if you look carefully, again, this is going to be the front that's racing across south central Kansas now, helping to trigger the storms. And these two, I guess you could call them lone rangers out here by themselves, out ahead of the main line. These are the ones that still have some rotation with it, but eventually you're going to see this line of storms intercept what's over in Greenwood and Butler counties, and our tornado threat should be ending fairly soon. But at the moment, we're dealing with significant storms. Severe thunderstorm warning is out for most of central and northern Sedgwick County. The tornado warning, by the way, does continue over in Butler County, does include El Dorado, does include areas just to the northwest of the Leon area, and the tornado warning that does include the El Dorado area continues until 9 o'clock this evening. So we're coming up on about 10 minutes. My suspicion is it will probably be allowed to expire since we haven't had anything confirmed with it, and the rotation appears to be spreading out over a larger area, which tends to increase our confidence that maybe it's not going to produce an additional tornado, but for another 10 minutes, you know, this is certainly a storm that we continue to watch. So let's go back over to Peyton, get an update on some of these other storms.
Yeah, Ross, so we're watching that activity in south central Kansas right now. We're continuing to monitor our chaser feeds too. Of course, Scott Roberts had a tornado live there as it developed in eastern sections of Sedgwick and western Butler counties. But what we're looking at now here on the radar picture is kind of an interesting scenario. So we've got two isolated cells. This is going to be the activity that is most likely to produce an isolated tornado threat still here over about the next hour or so. And then what we have here, as Ross was mentioning, is more of a line of storms from around Marion down through just just east of Newton, and then now moving into the Wichita area. This is going to be mainly some strong straight line wind gusts and some heavy rainfall, but that is expected to hold together and sweep all the way through into portions of south central and southeast Kansas over the next few hours. So this is just kind of the start of what'll be an active period here over the next few hours over portions of south central and southeast Kansas. Let's go over here to this tornado warning in Greenwood County. Just getting a report from the fire department of some ping pong ball sized hail at Eureka Lake. So this storm here in Greenwood County producing some large hail. The rotation with this storm has not been overly strong. We have not had any confirmed tornado with this storm in Greenwood County, so that's some good news, but we'll continue to keep a close eye on it because, again, the environment is still favorable for that possibility as that storm continues to push up toward the northeast. So now we're with 2 tornado warnings, one there for Greenwood, the other one for Butler County. We've got some golf ball sized hail reported in El Dorado. So let's see, emergency management reporting a funnel cloud south of El Dorado that has since lifted back up. So I think kind of what Ross was mentioning, we're getting kind of into a situation with this storm, it's looking like, where it's definitely not as strong as it was 45 minutes ago. So we'll just have to continue to monitor if that trend continues, and they will go ahead and issue a new tornado warning for it. They are now saying confirmed tornado near El Dorado. So let's go back to Ross with more information on that storm.
Yeah, it's definitely not ready to give up just yet, and obviously with that funnel cloud report giving that we're now moving into darkness and the eyewitness accounts are going to start trailing off, we start to move our reliance on Doppler radar. Becomes much more heavier, certainly when you lose those eyewitness accounts. But around El Dorado at the present time, again, there is some concern that we could see an additional tornado develop out of this storm. It would likely be very brief given what we're seeing here on radar, but this new tornado warning will include El Dorado, areas to the north and east of there, several miles of the Kansas Turnpike. Let's bring you up to the current time. We'll get rid of some of these storm reports, but before we do that, the most recent one, which is what Peyton was talking about there near El Dorado, this is going to be what we believe to have been a funnel cloud, but now this was just to the southwest side of El Dorado, as that tornado warning now being reissued for central and eastern sections of Butler County, where we do continue with a dangerous storm near El Dorado. So if you're in that area, again, the likelihood of a big tornado out of this, probably not. We haven't seen that many big tornadoes tonight, and I don't think we're moving into that kind of situation here. But even if we get a brief tornado that passes through the city limits of El Dorado or even on the outskirts of town, you know, there are a lot of farmsteads in this area. We want you to be safe, and that means riding out this storm in a basement. You probably won't be there very long. The storm continues to truck onto the northeast at speeds of roughly 30 miles per hour, so it's not going to be around for too long. But at the moment, it is very close to El Dorado. And we do continue with a dangerous situation there in central and eastern sections of Butler County. So the circulation that we're looking at right now, again, this is very close to El Dorado. Looks like maybe just on the south edge of town. If we are getting a tornado in the city limits of El Dorado, it's going to be more on the south edge of town than it would be farther to the north. This is the Kansas Turnpike here. There's Highway 77. Many of you from south central Kansas have been on some of these highways, know exactly what area we're talking about here, but central Butler County is where, again, we're still seeing that very dangerous part of the storm where funnel clouds, perhaps maybe a brief tornado could be happening at the present time near El Dorado. We have not been able to pick up on any debris signature on radar, which is possible. You know, something that we would be looking at from this radar scope would be a concentrated area of blue matching up with where we're seeing the rotation, and we're not able to put those two together tonight. So I don't believe that we're seeing any kind of debris here on the radar, but this continues to be a very dangerous storm here near El Dorado, areas along Highway 54, south of the Turnpike. Again, possible that we get a tornado to develop out of this. But even if we don't get that, there's still some concern of very large hail, which we haven't talked much about recently as the storm continues to work its way. This is El Dorado Lake there, and the hail potential here may be quarter size if we're getting some of the larger hail falling there in central sections of Butler County. But a tornado warning does continue, including El Dorado. Over here to the right, there's Rosalia, this Highway 54, and again 77, there's the Kansas Turnpike. We are concerned about the possibility of a brief tornado possibly spinning up near El Dorado, and that's why this new warning does include areas from there right on up the turnpike. It doesn't look like, let's find out, Cassidy not included in the tornado warning there, but we are seeing that storm track on to the northeast. As for what's making its way across Sedgwick County at the moment, as we pointed out a little while ago, this appears to be mostly heavy rain and some wind. Going to be a lot of lightning with these storms too, perhaps some hail too, but I would expect it's probably up to the size of quarters, maybe in most instances smaller than that, as those storms, the line of storms now forming on the cold front, continues to come across Sedgwick County. We do have Michael Schwenke standing by with some updates on damage. Of course, we know the tornado passed very near Andover. He can provide some additional details of what the newsroom is collecting in the wake of this storm in Butler County.
Ross, as you can imagine, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails coming in. We do have some video shot by Josh Wells out in the Andover area. Here's what we're getting as far as damage in and around the Andover area, possibly some homes along Kellogg, a lot of the damage in and around Andover Road itself. Also in and around Andover Central High School, the park there, City Hall, and then as you head to the north and east, a neighborhood up along 13th Street. But taking a good look here at just incredible video as we watched this live earlier, but Ross, we are getting reports now of some damage in and around the Andover area. Our crews have dispatched out in that area. If you live out there, you know it is crazy right now with some of the emergency traffic, as they too are trying to determine just how bad this damage is in and around that Andover area. Good news right now, as we monitor dispatch and talk to them, no reports of injuries, but it does sound like some homes have been damaged, possibly some damage to the Andover Central complex that is in and around that area. But here you're just seeing some of the viewer video that we got as this tornado moved through that Andover area. If you do have damage reports, we would love to have those just so we can give some accurate information here. You can email those to us, news@kwch.com, or just send it in through the app just to help us better map what has been damaged in some of those areas that have been affected. But again, in and around the Andover area along Central and Andover Road, in that general vicinity, Ross, is where we're hearing some of the damage.
Okay, thanks very much, Mike. And of course, it's only human nature that in the wake of these kinds of situations, it's natural to want to go out and see it for yourself. I think a lot of Kansans feel that, maybe want to try to get out there and help. But ultimately, not a good idea to try to go out and try to survey damage with night. Setting in on south central Kansas and the rest of the state. We've got a lot of stuff happening. We've got blowing dust, strong winds, tornadoes, thunderstorms now coming back across south central Kansas, including Wichita. But here's what we've got going on as far as the tornado warning is concerned in Butler County, and there's still some reason to be concerned. Now, just south and east of El Dorado, we still have a bit of an appendage, a notch on radar, indicating some of the rotation that we're looking at. Now, we have not had for about 10 minutes an eyewitness account of a tornado. If there's going to be something, it's going to be just south and east of El Dorado, Rosalia over here, the storm safely to the north of Leon, so no reason to be sheltered there in Leon. But areas along Highway 54, this continues to be a very dangerous storm with the possibility, again, emphasizing there possible, not a guarantee, no confirmation, but we still have some rotation right here along Highway 54, now starting to look like it's shifting southeast of El Dorado, and tornado warnings continue in this area. We're going to start losing those eyewitness accounts, the videos that we've been showing throughout the evening with night falling on south central Kansas. Those videos tend to drop off, and so we just, our reliance on Doppler radar goes almost to 100% at this point in time. Still a very populated area of Kansas, so if it's producing a tornado, we're probably going to find out about it fairly quickly, but a tornado warning does continue for areas just south and east of El Dorado. Let's go back over to Peyton for a quick update on some other storms.
Yeah, Ross, we do have just one other tornado warning to tell you about tonight. So one other tornado warning, that is for Greenwood County. This is going to go until 9:15. Can say that throughout the duration of this tornado warning that we haven't seen any sort of significant rotation with it. We did get some reports of some large hail, but Eureka has been included within this tornado warning for a while. This storm is now lifting north of town. So that's some good news there. But again, the tornado warning does continue until 9:15. That storm with its northeastward movement could also be producing some large hail in Hamilton, where you see those shades of darker red and orange. So this is an area of potential large hail. Let's look at the wind mode, because again, I'm looking at it behind the scenes as well. Nothing that shows up in here that is particularly strong or impressive. So probably do not have a tornado on the ground with this storm at this point in time. But again, based on what we're looking at with the environment, just got to keep a close eye on things. But again, that is our other tornado warning. They have 2 tornado warnings, western one there on the left side of your screen for Butler County, and the other one for Greenwood County. The Greenwood County tornado warning here, this easternmost one, goes until 9:15, and the one for Butler County goes a little bit later than that, until 9:45. So 2 storms that we're really watching, and again, also a line of storms where it is already moving into portions of the Wichita metro area now. Ross?
All right, thanks very much, Peyton. We want to welcome our viewers on the KSCW Eyewitness News at 9, of course, underway on the KSCW. We continue with our coverage on KWCH 12. We essentially had some tornadoes up in Dickinson County earlier this evening, and then all of a sudden we went from what felt like 0 to 60 in a matter of 5 minutes with a storm that blew up over Wichita, produced a tornado that went through the Andover area. You know, Andover's no stranger to tornadoes. This one very different than the big one back on May 3rd of '99. But we do have reports of damage, and we do have, you know, several different pictures and video coming in. It's very important because Mike was suggesting we would like to see pictures of damage, but only if you can do that safely. If you're looking out your window or you don't have power at this point in time, or maybe you're noticing damage around your location and you can't safely get out and assess it, it's very important that you maintain safety for yourself. And don't worry about sending us pictures if you can't do it, and keep yourself safe. Don't worry about that. We will, of course, continue to cover things from here and provide updates as they come into the newsroom and the Storm Center. But the very latest on what we have right now, this is a dangerous storm in Butler County. You're looking at an area now well removed from El Dorado. I still think there's reason to be concerned about a possible tornado that could develop out of this storm just to the south of Highway 54. This is getting in closer to Rosalia. So if you're in that area, around or just west of Rosalia, again, safest place is going to be in a basement, small interior closet, lowest, most center portion of your home. You can follow the circulation. It has gone through a cycling phase. The original circulation absorbed by the rest of the storm, and now it looks like it may be trying to do something right there along Highway 54, or maybe just to the south of the highway. And as that approaches Rosalia from the west, again, not a guarantee we're going to get a tornado out of it, but we want you to be sheltered until this storm clears that area. And that will, again, be east of El Dorado and to the west of Rosalia, where we continue to see that strong circulation there moving on to the northeast. So that's where it is now, bring you up to the current time as we continue to look for any potential signs of debris being lofted up from the tornado. Can't really say with a high level of certainty that we're seeing any debris on radar, but this is a product of the radar that we continue to come back and check in on from time to time, because in nighttime tornadoes, you know, if we're seeing debris on radar, that would increase our level of confidence that we've got something, a circulation in touch with the ground. At the moment, we believe that this is passing very close to and just to the west of Rosalia. Okay, now we got a new hail report, so let's bring that information up here for you. Again, a hail report coming from Rosalia. Okay, this would be golf ball size just at the top of the hour from just west of Rosalia. So that goes without saying. You know, hail obviously a concern by itself, but we still have rotation showing up just to the west of Rosalia, and that storm continuing to track to the northeast. And it is possible that that storm will be crossing over into western sections of Greenwood County. So at the moment, I think we can safely say that areas around El Dorado, the storm has shifted east of you, but if you're west of Rosalia or in Rosalia, you need to be seeking shelter from the storm at once, as we continue to have a strong signature on radar of some rotation there. Let's get an update on some of the damage that continues to change in a very fluid situation. Let's go over to Michael Schwenke.
Ross, we are getting new reports in from Andover. First, we just got off the phone with dispatch. Again, no reports of injuries, but said their 911 system is flooded right now. Let's take a look at a picture we're just now getting from the Andover Y itself, and you can see the extensive damage. So this, if you're not familiar with this area, the Andover Y, along Kellogg there, just to the east of Andover Road, and you can see the front of that building has been badly damaged. In the foreground there, you can see in front of the building a car that has been flipped over. I believe we have one more picture as well. Here's a closer look. So this is showing the power of this storm as some of those cars that were in the parking lot have been obviously slammed into the building. But again, the good news here, right now we're not hearing reports of injuries. That's what Butler County Dispatch is telling us. But this in and around the Kellogg and Andover Road area, so that's the path that this tornado took. We do know there are some homes damaged in and around that area. It is very populated, obviously, as it headed up then north and east. And we are getting reports of damage not only to the Andover Y here, but the Andover Central High School complex as well. Possibly not as extensive as what we're hearing there at the Andover Central High School and Middle School. And then it went up to the north yet again. The park, there's the Andover Park in that area sustaining some damage, and then another neighborhood off of the 13th Street area. But once again, if you were just joining us, significant damage here in the Andover area. This, the Andover Y, and you can see just how powerful this tornado was as it went through the Andover area. We continue to get reports. We have been in contact with Butler County Dispatch. And again, no injuries reported, but 911 calls still flooding into their dispatch center.
And Mike, there's always going to be the question, we start to see pictures of damage where it may fall on the EF scale. We simply don't know because we don't have a full scope of what the damage may be tonight, but obviously concerned about those there near the Andover Y, as we've now had some damage reported there. Still tracking a tornado warning now till 9:45 for Butler County. We're still looking at an area that is getting stronger. The rotation is increasing now just to the west of Rosalia in western or eastern sections of Butler County. So this continuing to be a danger storm. Let's switch over here to Max 3, kind of set everything up for you. It's been a little while since we've looked at a regional picture, but we've got severe thunderstorm warnings across south central Kansas. The line of storms coming through Wichita at the present time. We're not seeing rotation like we've had with some of these earlier storms. The line of storms extending up into Marion and Chase counties. Meteorologist Peyton Sanders continues to work that line of storms. We continue to keep a close tab on what's happening here near Rosalia. And again, we are still seeing strong rotation on radar. We've got these two tornado warnings, one over in Greenwood County. That storm not looking very impressive at all, really starting to ramp down, weaken there, but the tornado warning does continue for central and eastern Butler County. Near Rosalia, you need to be in your safe place at this time because we continue to see a strong signature on radar of rotation. Peyton?
Yeah, Ross, just real quickly wanted to pass along, of course, it's dark out now, so our feeds from our storm chasers at our live stream video, not quite as useful here at nighttime, but we've been in contact with them still. Taylor Wright is on this storm, and I'll show you his location. You can see those bright shades of color. That's indicating pretty strong winds. And what we're looking at here, I'll turn off the storm icons there so you can see. There's Taylor's position. He is reporting a wall cloud now with this thunderstorm that we're looking at here into the eastern part of Butler County. So that means there is rotation with this storm. We're already seeing that on radar, but he is confirming the lowering and the rotating lowering with this thunderstorm that we're watching, and this storm is pushing off to the east. So again, we have noted, Ross and I have been talking about it within about the past 10 minutes or so. It does look like that this storm is starting to strengthen with this rotation once again. So we certainly do need to keep a close eye on it as it continues to push off to the east. Ross?
All right, thanks very much, Peyton. We, of course, are in continuous coverage with our weather partners over at KFDI. They've been in continuous coverage. If you're out driving around tonight, listening to the coverage on KFDI, remember, we are providing information on TV, and for those that may be out listening to us on the radio, we continue with the tornado warning in central and eastern Butler County. The rotation is getting stronger just to the west of Rosalia, so if you're in that area, we can't emphasize it enough. As Peyton was pointing out, the videos, the eyewitness accounts, they drop off. That's natural for it to happen when the sun sets and darkness falls. You know, we just don't get all of the reports that we would otherwise expect if it were middle of the afternoon. But you can see this rotation is really ramping up here just to the west of Rosalia, right here along Highway 54. To give you an idea of what we're thinking in terms of distance from the circulation back to Rosalia, it's not very far at all. I mean, we're talking about maybe 2 to 3 miles. So time is running out to move to a place of safety. And as we've been telling you throughout the evening, basements, closets, bathrooms, good places to go. If you can get underneath of a staircase, another layer of protection that's going to be really good. I mean, that would be a great place to try to ride out a potential tornado. Again, as this thing gets in closer to Rosalia, there is a chance that it could produce an additional tornado based on the returns that we're seeing here on radar. This is now well east of El Dorado and continuing to track on to the northeast. This is probably going to be our last tornado warned storm tonight, but it's holding together, and so it may stay with us for a little while longer. As again, we continue to see that area of concern now moving through the eastern side of Butler County. As we drop some of these markers off so you get a cleaner view of the radar, there's the notch that's showing up right here along Highway 54, tracking to the northeast. We haven't given you a storm track for a little while, but those of you that live in this area know it well, and it's now near Rosalia, and it does continue to track to the northeast. We'll track it at 25 to 30 miles per hour, putting it in Rosalia essentially here within the next couple of minutes, so you don't have a lot of time. And then it's going to bring it over into western Greenwood County if the storm continues to rotate, and it's still a very healthy thunderstorm with large hail and rotation right along Highway 54 now, about 2 to 3 miles back to the west of Rosalia. This tornado warning over here in Greenwood County should expire on time. We haven't had any reports of tornadoes there. The rotation never really looked all that put together there on radar, so some good news coming from Greenwood County tonight, but a dangerous situation there in Butler County as we continue to see these very intense thunderstorms tracking across south central Kansas. If you're out driving around tonight, maybe you're listening to our coverage here on KFDI. Most of Wichita up through KWCH, Bel Air, northeast Sedgwick County, this is very heavy rainfall. Now, we have not had any reports of significant hail happening with these storms, but there is probably going to be some, and it could be up to the size of perhaps dimes or nickels, but the warning takes us until 9:30. I would be expecting rain to be coming down at perhaps maybe 2 inches per hour, some blinding rainfall to try to drive through tonight. We do have meteorologist Cassie Wilson out covering the storms in and around Wichita and Sedgwick County. Cassie, what's the latest from where you're watching the storms tonight?
South towards Kellogg. We just passed Central, so we've been kind of looping around the metro and just confirming exactly what you're saying in terms of what we're seeing with these severe thunderstorm warned portions that's left in Sedgwick County. Yes, heavy rain, very small hail, pea-size hail is what I was seeing kind of bouncing off of the roads as we looped around through Mays. Let me give you a look outside, though, as we're still watching some of these road conditions. They're just not great by any means. When I pull up our mobile weather lab readings, I've got about a half an inch of rain, and that's just kind of coming in from Tyler, the Mays and Tyler area, and then 235. So a very small area of Wichita. And so heavy rain rates, very small pea-sized hail, but we are dealing with still some dangerous driving conditions here along the metro. Again, that's really the major impacts that we're dealing with, and we are trying to head south towards 400 to hit up with the southern edge of what is left of the severe potential here. Reporting from 235, Cassie Wilson.
All right, thanks very much, Cassie. New tornado warning now. No surprise here. This is for the storm near Rosalia. This is going to include western sections of Greenwood County as well. As we go back over to this storm, you can't miss it. I mean, right there is the hook, and it's moving in on Rosalia as we speak. You need to be sheltered from this storm because there's a strong chance if this storm continues to behave the way that it is right now, it could produce an additional tornado. And again, we're not going to get the reports that we would otherwise expect if we had some light out there and see exactly what's taking place. Rosalia right here along Highway 54, so eastern Butler County, tornado warning. It does include areas getting into western Greenwood County, and the initial tornado warning for Greenwood County is expiring on time, but now we're concerned about what's happening here right along Highway 54. And again, this is eastern Butler County, so east of Wichita, east of El Dorado, now very close to Rosalia. There is a chance that this storm could produce another tornado. As we take a look at the wind signatures inside of this storm, the blues, this is going to be where the wind is blowing back toward the Wichita radar. And then obviously the red that we've been looking at this evening, that's going to be where the wind is going away. So that circulation is now starting to strengthen, and it's closing out on a more concentrated area. And when that happens, now you're starting to rotate much quicker, and again, it doesn't guarantee that we're going to see a tornado, but it does increase the likelihood. And because we don't have the light out there any longer, You know, our dependence on Doppler radar goes to almost to 100% at this point in time. So if you're in Rosalia, please shelter from this storm. There's a strong chance that it could produce wall cloud, perhaps a funnel. Maybe it's just a brief tornado. We don't know. But as that storm tracks along Highway 54, it's a very dangerous storm, and it's eventually likely going to cross over into western Greenwood County. We're probably about 15 to 20 minutes away from that doing so as that storm continues to work its way on to the east and pass through the Rosalia area. You know, Peyton, I don't know if that's a debris signature there.
Yeah, I'm checking to see. That might be from at least my vantage point on the 4 panel. It kind of might be in the clear air there.
Okay.
On the east side. Taylor is saying that he thinks he might have seen a tornado through the lightning flashes with this.
Okay, so Taylor, and what we can do here is we'll bring up chaser locations and show you precisely where he's at. So this is Taylor Wright, and he's right here along Highway 54 looking at the storm to his east. Now remember, we're not getting live video from him because it's darkness out there. Okay, he is confirming a tornado, cone tornado with this storm. Okay, let's go ahead and take Taylor's feed. Let's see if we can get a visual of this. You know, we've been saying time and time again, it's just so much different. You know, when the sun goes down for the day, we're just not able to see everything quite as clear as you would during the afternoon. But these are live pictures from Taylor Wright. He's on Highway 54 on the tornado-warned storm that is passing to, well, it's very close to Rosalia. If you're in Rosalia, you need to be sheltered from this storm. I'm looking at it behind the scenes here too, and I think we've got enough lightning that it is illuminating the feature that he is reporting on. This also gets to be a little bit touchy in terms of cell coverage, and we rely on that to get the video back here to the Storm Center and broadcast that to you on TV. But we are able to get information from Taylor. Again, he's right here on 54, confirming there does appear to be another tornado with the storm near Rosalia in eastern sections of Butler County. This is the Greenwood-Butler County line here, and this storm is of concern. We've been seeing the rotation ramping up, and as we continue to see if we're seeing any kind of debris, at the moment, not necessarily from radar, but this rotation is just so impressive, and we've been watching it ramp up, and they're now kind of working its way through Rosalia. If you're in the path of this storm, I mean, it's right on top of Rosalia right now. You need to be seeking shelter. That means getting to the lowest level, most center portion of your home. Got a basement, go there now. If you're in a mobile home, it can be a very touchy subject, but that is still not a safe place to try to ride out a tornado. They're just no match for this kind of situation here. I know it sounds like the most ridiculous thing, but you're actually safer seeking shelter in a ditch than you are trying to ride a storm out in a mobile home. But a lot of mobile home areas have designated storm shelters. Unfortunately, it looks like time has run out in Rosalia to do that sort of thing. It's now working its way through town and going to be passing on to the north of there. We're going to hope we don't get damage from that area. But if at all possible, we'd love to try to get Taylor's video up if we can do that sort of thing, because he was reporting a cone. You know, maybe it's more than just a funnel, but perhaps a cone tornado in that area of Rosalia, eastern Butler County. Again, we want you to be sheltered as this storm continues to travel through and along, mostly now looking like it's north of Highway 54 in eastern Butler County. Again, these are live pictures from Taylor Wright, who is on Highway 54. There's obviously some traffic out there tonight, the heavy rain that's hitting his windshield there. We're watching the center part of the screen, so you're going to have to wait for the lightning flashes to try to see something. You know, there's still enough lightning out there that we might be able to pick something out, but it's difficult.
We saw it a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, a little while ago we were able to see, but this is the challenge of being a nighttime spotter. You either have a lot of lightning or not enough to really say with a high level of certainty what you're seeing, but there does appear to at least be enough lightning out there tonight that when we saw it and looked at it about a minute or so ago, we were able to see what looked like a cone tornado happening near Rosalia. So that's the situation in eastern Butler County. We'll come back to the video if we're able to see something, but it's now working its way through Rosalia and just kind of setting everything up, getting a little noisy across south central Kansas. We've got storms rolling through Wichita, producing some heavy rainfall here at our Channel 12 studios on the north side of the city. We've had some dime-sized hail reported, and now it looks like they're updating the tornado warning to confirmed. which would go along with the report that we had from Taylor Wright there. Again, this is very close to Rosalia. This line of storms as it comes across Wichita, now moving back into Butler County. Remember, Andover has had some tornado damage, and that's one of the challenges that we'll have to deal with tonight, is that for the homes that have some damage, you've got heavy rain that's coming in from the west. Small hail, heavy rain, wind gusts maybe 50 to 60 miles per hour, and so that's a danger that we're dealing with. But at the present time, we are concerned about this tornado warning that's moving through Rosalia and western sections, soon to be western sections of Greenwood County. Not going to be a threat to Eureka. There's some good news there, but there's the notch showing up very close to Rosalia and working its way to the north of there. So anybody that might be north of Rosalia, far eastern Butler County, again, a very dangerous storm, confirmation of a tornado. Taylor Wright on Highway 54 a little while ago reporting that it was a cone tornado, and we're going to hope that that has since lifted. But at the moment, we still believe that there may be a tornado happening with this storm now north of Rosalia. Once again, as we take a look at the wind, the velocity signatures, where the wind is twisting around in this storm, and it still looks to be just north of Rosalia there, north of Highway 54. Let's go back over to Peyton for some updated information.
Yeah, Ross. So again, we're going to continue to monitor Taylor Wright's feed on that storm that is currently tornado warned here very carefully. Let's give a quick update on what's happening here across the metro Wichita area. Northwest Wichita, the rain's winding down. The strongest portion of this storm is now shifting into the eastern portions of Sedgwick County. You can see the eastward movement on it. This is moving over areas now that did have tornado damage earlier, so we've got to keep that in mind as this moves through. Some very heavy rainfall. We have been getting in some hail in along with the very heavy rain, up to about quarter size at the largest. In fact, that's the newest report just coming in from the Weather Service in Wichita out at the airport. 1-inch diameter hail, that is quarter size. So the heaviest portion of this area of thunderstorms is going to continue to pull away into the eastern sections of Sedgwick County and moving into the northwestern portions of Butler County. This area of line of storms continues to push off toward the east. So strong straight line wind gusts, some hail, and some heavy rainfall. The primary concerns with the storms, this line here that we're seeing in eastern portions of Sedgwick into northwestern Butler County. Then we have the tornado warning that we did have earlier for the one tornado warning that we had earlier for Greenwood County was allowed to expire. It is worth noting that far western Greenwood County is under a new tornado warning for the storm that is near Rosalia that we're going to have to continue to monitor. But again, we did get some reports of a tornado again confirmed with this storm that is in the eastern sections of Butler County. So that is now our one storm at this moment that has the potential, or that is producing a tornado, and is likely the one that will continue to do so here for a little bit. Ross?
All right, thanks very much, Peyton. Again, another look here at the storm north of Rosalia. Reports of power flashes in that area. We'll come back to the storm here momentarily. Do want to send it over to Michael Schwenke. Reports of damage coming into the newsroom. Mike, what's the latest?
Well, Ross, we're getting a lot of video and pictures. Real quickly, I do want to pass along Sedgwick County has activated its Emergency Operations Center, which will help here in the metro area, and they say that will help facilitate aid. So I mentioned the Andover Y sustained significant damage, getting some new video from inside. So let's begin there if we can. Walk through this video with us here. But again, the Andover Y, here's the outside picture. If you didn't see this earlier, you can see significant damage to the front of the building there. There are vehicles up against that building as well. And there's a closer look, and there you can see those vehicles up against the Andover Y. Now let's take you inside with some of the video that we're getting from viewers here. So this is inside the Andover Y, significant damage as the roof has collapsed. I do have someone there that works over there texting me saying the front desk area, that's where the roof came down there in the Andover Y. Let's go ahead and give you a look. Also, I believe we have video from someone actually flying into the Wichita area, a unique look at this tornado from above as they were coming in here to Eisenhower Airport. And there's a look at that tornado. More of a rope there. As we know, this did reach basically that classic stovepipe as it did hit Andover, and that's when some of the damage was caused. I believe we do have one more video here we can show you that has come in as well. Yeah. So here's a chaser video of this, courtesy of KWTV. They had chasers up here, but just a closer look here at that debris ball as it goes through the Andover area. We do have homes damaged as well. We're getting reports a lot of the area out of power in and around the Andover area, which is pretty typical. A lot of power flashes have been seen, but significant damage to some homes. Also the school as well. Andover Central High School sustaining some damage in that area, and we're getting reports of a neighborhood along 13th Street, possibly just east of Andover Road as well, that may have sustained some damage there. We are getting reports that at least a couple of homes may have been destroyed in this, so it has gone beyond just damage on a couple of those homes. But some of the video we're getting here, but again, Sedgwick County activating now its Emergency Operations Center. They will coordinate. It is a mutual aid thing, so they will coordinate with Butler County as well. Obviously, Butler County Emergency Management has been activated. Their 911 center telling us no reports of injuries right now, but definitely reports of damage, and those 911 calls continue to come in. We'll continue to monitor videos and the latest information here. We do have crews now getting set up in and around the Andover areas. You know, it's presenting a little bit of a challenge here as that second round of storms came through, dumping some hail and obviously dangerous lightning as some of the folks and rescue crews are out in that area. Ross?
Thanks very much, Mike. Again, we do have reports of power flashes, and there are reports now of damage. We don't know if it's in Rosalia or just to the west of Rosalia, but now that circulation has passed north and is now northeast of Rosalia, getting ready to move into western sections of Butler County, or Greenwood County, I should say. That storm, again, now with the history, we believe, of producing a tornado. We don't know if it went through Rosalia, but there are reports of power flashes and reports of some damage in and around the Rosalia area. We are joined again with our weather partners over at KFDI. For those of you listening to our coverage on the radio this evening, maybe you're listening to us in a storm shelter. We want to let you know we only have one tornado-warned storm out there tonight, and it's this one in eastern Butler County to the northeast of Rosalia. Reports of power flashes and reports of some damage. We don't know to what extent. Probably won't know for several more minutes, but that storm is quickly making its way toward western sections of Greenwood County. It looks like it will pass well to the west and northwest of Eureka by several miles. So we can safely say that in Eureka, although another line of storms is coming, you shouldn't have to worry too much about the threat of this tornado coming your way that's now getting ready to cross over into western Greenwood County. So just kind of setting up what's happening here, because we've had a noisy night of storms coming across Wichita. We're still dealing with that tornado warning north of Rosalia. This entire line here working its way across the metro area. Heavy rainfall. We've had some hail reported too. As Peyton pointed out a little while ago, if you missed it, quarter-size hail was reported at the National Weather Service office. That's out by the airport, southwest side of the city. And this thin green line here, that's our cold front helping to trigger these storms. So we've got a line now, and usually when we see a line of storms, we're concerned about heavy rainfall, hail, and wind, which all being reported tonight as these storms continue to work their way across Sedgwick County, Butler County. We follow that line of storms right up into Chase County, western sections of Lyon County. There are some tornado warnings tonight up in the Topeka area. South of Topeka, looks like we have radar indications of rotation there. South of Topeka, no confirmation of anything happening or any circulation on the ground, I should say. And then notice we've got the line of storms here, but these individual storms that have formed out ahead of the complex of storms, the tornado warning north of Rosalia and the other storms that are north of Eureka, those are quickly going to get absorbed by this line of storms that's racing to the southeast. So the tornado threat is diminishing quickly, but that doesn't take away from the short-term concern of what's happening north of Rosalia with this ongoing circulation that we've been looking at now for almost lost track of how long it has been. It seems like it's been at least 45 minutes, if not longer, and that storm now north of Rosalia getting ready to move into western Greenwood County. So this line of storms, again, racing southeast. If you were with us earlier tonight, we've been advertising the likelihood that the severe weather would clear the area by midnight tonight. We're going to send it over to meteorologist Peyton Sanders with an update on timing and what future track is showing.
Yeah, Ross, I do want to show you real quickly that we do have the tornado watch that does continue for portions of south central and eastern Kansas. We'll show you that now. That goes until 11 p.m. tonight for areas including Wichita, out to the east through Eureka, El Dorado. This is for the storms that are ongoing now, and then we have the warnings within inside of it. Let's take a look at Future Track. It's doing a pretty good job right now showing the line of storms, and notice how it does catch up to those isolated cells that we have in Butler and Greenwood counties. As this line continues to push off toward the southeast, it's still going to have a potential to produce some strong straight line wind gusts, maybe some pockets of some hail as it rolls into Elk and Chautauqua counties, Cowley County as well. All of this activity will continue to roll to the southeast. Notice this is by midnight. Then after that, all of it's going to continue to fade away, and then we should be dry heading into the weekend. So again, storms right now. Let's pull that back up here across south central Kansas, and this activity does continue. We haven't had any sort of significant wind gust reports so far as this line has moved through, but we have had the occasional, well, it does look like there is one wind report here. Let's see what that's looking like from East Wichita about a half hour ago, estimated 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. So some areas within this line will be producing some strong straight line wind gusts as this storm continues to push off to the east. But again, by far, what is our most significant storm still remains in the eastern sections of Butler County, western part of Greenwood County, where a new tornado warning has just been issued. So let's send it back over to Ross with more updates.
Okay. Quick update on that new tornado warning. Again, this is for the storm that's northeast of Rosalia, and as soon as we get you updated on what's happening here, we will join some of our reporters in the field gathering information on some of the damage out there tonight. Again, this is northeast of Rosalia. Let's give you an idea of what we're talking about. Distance can be sometimes hard to look at this until we really know for sure, but about 5 miles to the northeast of Rosalia. Power flashes have been reported. Reports of damage coming from eastern Butler County, getting ready to cross over into western Greenwood County. The new tornado warning does not include Eureka, does not include Madison or Hamilton, but western sections of Greenwood County that would be north of Highway 54, off to the northwest of Eureka. You should seek shelter from the storm. It does have a history of producing a tornado. Haley Tucker is reporting tonight from the Andover area with reports of damage. Let's send it out to her with an update on what she's seeing this evening in the wake of these storms tonight. Haley, where are you at? And we
Ross,
obviously
yes,
see your picture, but go ahead and give us an update.
We are just north, yes. Yeah, so we are just north of the YMCA here in Andover, and as you can see, so we are in my car right now just because of the extensive hail that we're hearing and seeing, and also the rain. I am currently on my phone because we can't get any photographers out to my location right here. But as you can see, extensive damage. This is a house just right across the road, right across Kellogg from the YMCA. We are currently in a neighborhood off of South McCandless Road. Again, extensive damage. You can see trees downed. Driving into here, we saw a couple power lines down, cars turned over, houses with extensive damage. This is a very dangerous situation. We are trying to get over to the YMCA as Michael Schwenke, I know, showed some pictures from the YMCA and some video, but I mean, it's very, very scary out here at this moment. We haven't heard any reports of injuries. We've seen Butler County sheriffs, Wichita police, Andover police out searching. We've talked to a couple of people. They are okay, but they said it was a very scary situation here in Andover. I live just about a couple miles away from this location, and I saw the tornado touch down, called the newsroom to make sure that we had people on it, but it was a very scary situation. The tornado, as I could see, was on the ground for quite a while. Ross would have more information, obviously, on that. But yeah, I mean, you can see trees down in this location. We're going to try to move to get other locations, but the house is still standing, as you can see it. But it's very, very scary out here in Andover tonight.
Thanks very much. That's Haley Tucker. Stay safe out there with power lines down, a dangerous situation, and we don't want you to try to go out and survey the damage for yourself. We also have Abby Higginbotham, who is reporting tonight from Andover, obviously still looking at some of the damage out there tonight. Abby, let us know what you're seeing this evening.
Yes, I'm right here on 21st and Andover Road, where the rain has gotten extremely heavy. The power in the area, that, as we can see, is out. Earlier, multiple cars who are now, I guess, trying to just go home. But right now, multiple cars are trying to take shelter from this rain as it continues to pour down. Cops have blocked off 13th, and you cannot go south in the area currently. weather conditions continue to get worse. It is extremely dangerous to be out right now. If you are on the roads, make sure to take cover as the rain as you can tell, is getting significantly stronger. Our team right now is under shelter too at the gas station across the street. But again, we're on 21st and Andover Road, where cops are currently trying to block off roads so people don't go further south. Mike.
Take it from here, Abby. Again, reporting tonight from the Andover area. It's really not advised to try to go out tonight and survey the damage for yourself. You're going to run into road closures. There are power lines down, as you heard Haley reporting. Trees are down. Power is out. This is a difficult situation, and we're dealing with tremendous rainfall that's coming across Butler County, areas that were hit earlier this evening, and we still have an ongoing tornado warning tonight right on the Greenwood Butler County line. This is north of Highway 54, going to stay well to the northwest of Eureka, and Peyton and I were just talking about the duration of this heavy rainfall that's coming through south central Kansas. It's not going to be around for much longer. That's the good news for the rescue crews, the emergency personnel trying to get out there and help people that may have suffered some injuries in tonight's storms. We just don't know to what extent or how many that might be. It does sound like we haven't had too many injury reports this evening. Some good news there. But this line of thunderstorms is not wasting any time clearing the area. There's a cold front blowing on through, and that's what's going to shove the most intense thunderstorms south and east here in the next little while. So even though we are dealing with some blinding rainfall, some difficult conditions for the rescue and recovery efforts that are out there this evening, you know, this sort of thing is not going to last all evening long. This line of storms should shove on to the southeast fairly quickly, and that heavy rainfall will clear the Andover area, but we're probably still a good 30 to 45 minutes away from that doing so. At the moment, we continue with the tornado warning. Again, this is right on the Butler Greenwood County line. There's still reason to believe that there may be something with this tornado warning that's out there this evening. It does include areas northwest of Eureka, northeast of Rosalia. This is a look at the circulation, that notch that's showing up on the radar. If we take you back over to the wind mode of the radar, there it is. It's now starting to mostly move within the western side of Greenwood County and track on to the northeast. A very dangerous storm there, but it does look like it would stay to the northwest of Eureka if, in fact, we get an additional tornado that might be produced out of this. But again, that's the only tornado-warned storm that we have out there this evening, is this one that's right on the Greenwood-Butler County line. A situation there that we'll continue to keep a close tab on as the storms continue to move to the northeast. Again, as what has happened now in the last hour or so, this line of storms right along the cold front overwhelming and basically overtaking the dry line. And as the storms merge with the two tornado-producing storms we had earlier this evening in portions of Butler County, it now looks like those are being absorbed by the rest of the line, and that will essentially really cut off the tornado potential moving through the rest of the night. But as Peyton pointed out a little while ago, it doesn't mitigate the severe weather risk that's going to be ongoing through the rest of the evening for areas of southeast Kansas, because that's probably going to continue for a little while longer. Mostly going to be a wind threat, but there is still some hail being reported tonight. In fact, we've had a couple reports of hail now to the east, on the east side of Wichita, now moving into the Rose Hill and Douglas area, so be prepared for hail, maybe up to the size of quarters there. Let's get an update on what the newsroom is collecting. We'll send it over to Michael Schwanke.
Ross, thank you. As you know, we've shown some video from Josh Wells over there in Andover. Josh on the school board over there as well, but spent a lot of time at KFDI chasing tornadoes. Josh joins us on the phone here. And Josh, you've been in and around Andover. Can you explain some of the damage you've seen? And we'll try to take some of the video here that you sent us as well.
Yeah, Mike, good evening. And I'm trying to hear you. It's getting more hail right now, probably quarter-size hail. I'm on Harris Street in Butler County, just about a mile to the west of Andover Road. You can hear the hail really coming down now. I think it's quarter size. Let me get back to the host. Let me get back to the damage, storm damage that we saw. We saw the tornado touch down in Andover. The damage that I've seen so far has been pretty extensive to stick-built homes. Damage at Harry and Andover Road, it seems to be where it begins. And it really, the damage stays somewhat to the, right along Andover Road and to the east. I'm getting word that, I think you guys have said too, that the YMCA was badly damaged. But from what I saw, the tornado stayed just to the east of Andover Road, was on the ground. It started as a rope tornado and then progressed into a stovepipe tornado. I wouldn't ever say it was wedge. but it did a lot of damage and went right through Andover Central Park and just missed the schools. It just missed everything there, but then continued on almost on a straight northerly pattern. And there's a housing addition that's about 3/4 of a mile to the east of Andover Road on 13th Street, and it took a hit. Those are stick-built homes, newer construction-built homes, and several of those homes were badly damaged with roofs missing and only walls still standing, and some were fairly leveled. Again, I don't have any reports of any injuries. When we were on the scene, we were first on the scene. A lot of power lines down. We could see Andover Police responding, also Butler County Sheriff, Sedgwick County Sheriff, and Wichita Police are now in the city of Andover helping assist with control of traffic, with keeping people away from power lines. We saw a lot of emergency crews headed into those areas that I just mentioned. Again, I don't know that there was any injuries. I'm hopeful that there's not, but I cannot accurately report on that. But what I can report on, Mike, is that the schools seem to be okay. There may be some roof damage. I'll let the school district talk about that, but we witnessed it go right behind Andover Central, went right through Central Park and on to the north.
That's what I was going to ask you. We'd heard reports that it came very close to that Andover Central High School complex, but the good news you're passing along that it may have been spared. And guys, as we watch Josh Wells' video, he mentioned the YMCA, so if you're just joining us, if we could try to switch to those YMCA pictures and video as we talk, because it makes sense to what Josh is saying, that it was just to the east of Andover Road as it came into town there, and that's where that Y is. Also getting some reports possibly there's that really large apartment complex as well next to the Andover Y that may have sustained some damage, but some of the most significant damage has been to the Andover Y, and here we're taking a look. But Josh, you said you saw it as it went through there in that video. As we look here at the picture of the YMCA, just the power, but you were awfully close to that tornado as it went through.
Behind it, we had just left dinner at Andover Road and Central, got up, paid our bill, walked outside to go home, and the tornado was right there. We first intercepted it at about Andover Road and 3rd Street, stayed to the north of us across Andover Road, and then followed it behind the school system. So it did stay, I think it's Jamestown Street. So it went right along that Jamestown area, which is where the YMCA is. I just drove through that area a bit ago from Andover Road and Kellogg as I'm trying to check on some family members, and it was all black and it was all dark. It looked as though I was close to the Dillons. It looked as though the Dillons was intact. I could see the awning for the Dillons fuel area. It looked as though it was intact, but I could not see any further to the east there, Mike. But what I saw as the tornado touched down, it came right along. That Jamestown Road, Yorktown. I'm sorry, it's not Jamestown. I apologize. It's Yorktown Road. It looked like it came right along Yorktown Road, went right through Andover Central Park. Let me make sure that you understand that. Not Andover Central, but the Andover Central Park, right there where City Hall is. It went right through that park, which is just to the east of the school complex, and then went on to the north.
Josh Wells, thank you for the reports. I know you're down there checking on family now, and the challenge that it is so dark without power. We have storms still moving through that those crews are having to deal with. But you just heard Josh saying now he's seeing Sedgwick County as well as Wichita crews, and that is typical in a situation like this. It is mutual aid. The Sedgwick County has activated its emergency operations center to do just that, to try to communicate with all of these crews as they go through some of this damage, make sure everyone is safe. The good news there too, Josh, also hearing no reports of injuries. And the good news from Josh's report, the school complex there has possibly been spared, at least in the Andover area. So Josh, thank you for your reports. Some of our chasers just now arriving in the building. I'm going to send it back to Ross and Peyton right now, and we'll come back with some of those chaser reports here momentarily. Ross?
All right, thanks very much, Mike. We do continue with the tornado warning in western Greenwood County. It does appear that the storm is being absorbed by other storms racing in from the northwest. What that's going to mean is a lower tornado threat not completely finished with yet, but it does sound like that if we had an ongoing tornado, which we believe was the case as the storm went through the Rosalia area, and we are hearing reports of damage. We don't know to what extent, how widespread it might be. There were reports of power flashes, certainly to the west of Rosalia. Now the circulation is mostly contained in western Greenwood County. This is going to pass to the northwest of Eureka. Eureka, you've been through tornadoes before. It looks like this thing is in its downward trend here, and we're just about finished with the tornado threat. But you've got a lot of heavy rain that's coming your way, and there may still be some strong winds produced with this storm as it works its way in from the west. It's part of a line of thunderstorms still producing some hail and some strong winds. We continue to get some hail reports on the storms as they now work their way out of Wichita, and so let's take a closer look. The south flank of this line of storms is still producing some large hail as we go up to the current time and give you a sample of what we're seeing as far as hail threats and hail potential goes. Here's a report at 9:34 from Andover of golf ball size hail, obviously complicating the rescue and recovery efforts that are out there tonight. The blinding rainfall making for another challenging scenario that's playing out, but the good news is this is not going to be around much longer. Give it another 30 minutes to an hour or so and this line will clear eastern Sedgwick County and western Butler County. We've had reports of large hail too from the southeast side of Wichita, so let's see what those reports indicate there. Here's a report of 2-inch hail at 9:30 this evening. 2-inch hail's nothing to mess with. That's going to create car damage and certainly knock down some leaves, perhaps maybe do some damage to your home. It potentially can knock out some windows too. But this line of storms shifting south and east, and there's an ongoing hail and wind threat with the storms there now from around the Derby and Mulvane area up into Douglas and Rose Hill. Looks like it hasn't quite made it to Douglas yet. Let's go in and we'll kind of work our way from the south flank of this line of storms and work our way back up to the north. And the hail reports are mostly now from the south and east side of Wichita. There's some heavy rain to the north of Mulvane. It does look like Douglas or Rose Hill getting in on some of that heavy rainfall at the moment, and it looks like the potential of some hail may be coming through Douglas, perhaps maybe in the next 20 to 30 minutes. Hail up to the size of golf balls possible there. Andover getting some very heavy rainfall at the moment, but look how close we are to the western fringe of the heavy rain. It's not going to be around much longer, and then hopefully that will help to accelerate the rescue and recovery efforts that are underway. Again, based on what Josh was reporting there, it sounds like most of the damage is east of Andover Road, but we're still waiting and collecting a lot of information, and some of it just isn't known this recent after the storm has passed on through. But the heavy rainfall, the hail threat there continuing in southeastern Sedgwick County, western sections of Butler County, and the line of thunderstorms now, heavy rainfall working its way through El Dorado. We can see the heavy rain moving in on Rosalia. Now, some of these places here in eastern Butler County do have some damage. That storm that went through Rosalia is now this one that's to the north of Eureka and working its way to the northeast. We don't believe there to be a tornado in there any longer, but there's still a dangerous batch of storms coming through with large hail and strong winds. And meteorologist Peyton Sanders has kind of been looking at this off air. Let's send it over to him for an update on what we're seeing there in Greenwood County.
Yeah, so kind of what you had been mentioning is that it looks like now that that area of thunderstorms has merged into that one cell, this area of rotation has weakened, and the Weather Service is confirming that as well. Before this was observed, if you look at the verbiage within the warning, now it's just radar indicated rotation. So that's at least some good news here from this situation, because this had some strong rotation, was likely producing a tornado. In fact, we did get those confirmed reports of it. You can see those icons there, but some changes here within the past 15 minutes in terms of this storm potentially weakening in terms of its rotation. Tornado warning continues for Greenwood County until 10:15 on the northernmost warning. The southernmost warning goes until 10. So we'll see probably here within the next 10 minutes if we're going to see any sort of new tornado warnings issued. Still can never really rule out that possibility until we get a little bit closer to the end of that warning. But you can see the two icons there. This did produce another confirmed tornado. This is separate from the storm that earlier produced a tornado around Andover. This eventually rolled up through Butler County and produced another area of tornadic activity in eastern Butler County. But as we look at the wind mode here on radar, if we go back a few frames to right about here, right where those reds and greens meet up with each other near Rosalia, that's likely where we had a tornado on the ground. And then if we take a look at where things are at now, you can see how things have become much more broad. You can actually see this leading edge of the red. That's kind of some outflow winds that can sometimes choke off that rotation. So that's some good news, but we're going to have to watch potentially the northern end of it still. Something that we still can't entirely rule it out just yet, but as this line from Butler County and Sedgwick County comes on through, I do think that we're going to gradually start to transition away from the tornadic potential and more toward a wind threat that will continue. So we're not done yet. This wind and even some hail potential will continue as these storms roll into southeast Kansas as we head on here into the next couple of hours. It's going to start to take a little bit more of a southeast track. So we'll continue to monitor this storm activity and pass along any new information. Ross?
All right, thanks very much, Peyton. Again, still watching. That tornado warning does include western sections of Greenwood County. Lots of thunderstorms moving through. At least we're not in a situation here where the storms are stalling that would hamper the efforts there in Andover as we try to assess what's happened in the wake of tonight's storms. Let's send it over to Michael Schwenke. He's got one of our storm chasers here in-house, Lance Ferguson, who witnessed the tornado earlier this evening.
Ross, sitting here with Lance Ferguson as we go through some of his chasing experience here too. We'll talk to some of the video as we're just now getting more video in. Lance, where were you? You were just south of this as
Correct.
It came in, correct?
Scott Roberts and I were located at Andover Road and about 140th Street South. So we were about 4 to 5 miles south of Kellogg on Andover Road. We were looking actually due west. We saw the funnel cloud start forming, a lot of rotation. We figured, okay, this is where it's going to happen, and sure enough, it did. So we were able to catch it on video from the time it dropped. Immediately, it looked like just a thin rope,
right?
But there was a lot of debris being kicked up at the bottom, so we knew it was bad. And then it kept fluctuating in size, small, large, marched through as it neared Andover, and we were assuming Kellogg. There was a lot of large debris in the sky. And when we're 3 to 4 miles, probably 2 to 3 miles from it, and we can see the debris, being that big of debris flying up, we knew that something was getting hit.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the video here as he talks about that debris, because we're getting some video in, and then Lance's video we're going to try to turn as well. But let's go ahead and take some of the video we have here as we discuss. We've seen the video of it dropping. Essentially, it looked like a thin rope tornado.
Correct.
And it didn't stay that way.
No, it did not. And the thing about it is, just because it's a thin rope does not mean it's not dangerous or damaging. It immediately, as soon as it touched down, you can see the debris cloud at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the video I've got that we're getting uploaded, you can see it come right down to the ground, and immediately the dust starts going all up. So as the storm approached Kellogg and the Andover area, again, we were far enough back that we didn't know exactly where it was at. But once we started seeing power flashes and saw the large pieces of debris being thrown halfway up into the sky, I'd say halfway up between the ground and the base of the storm itself, we knew that big items were being struck.
You've been on so many of these, Lance. How challenging is it right now that not only do we have darkness,
Correct.
but you have roads closed? We're getting reports Kellogg is closed around 159th. It is so hard for everyone to maneuver and communicate that cell phones are even struggling.
It was tough. I lost cell reception out there. The traffic south of Kellogg was bad. It seemed like that they were rerouting Kellogg traffic south of Andover. Trying to get back here to the station took us probably a good 30-40 minutes just to get around the Andover area. There was a lot of traffic going through. And that's the beauty of I don't want to say beauty, the saving grace of this is we were able to see the tornado while we still had daylight. The sun was just going down when it first touched down, and we were able to have just enough daylight. We were on the south edge of it. We were able to have a great view of it all the way in. We were able to follow it all the way until it finished. So we knew what was going on. We had to stay away from Andover if we wanted to stay on the chase, because we didn't know what kind of damage paths we would run into.
Well, and you talk about staying on the chase, and here's an incredible aerial view from someone flying into Eisenhower as that tornado touched down in the early stages. But it is so challenging now at this point for these crews.
It is, like I said, the traffic out there is crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of emergency vehicles all over the place. And then, unfortunately, you've got the traffic that's trying to get through, and then you've got the gawkers, people wanting to go out and look. If you stay away from the Andover area right now, we didn't even try to go back in because there's no power, there's no light, you can't see anything. We drove by a couple houses that we thought were we could tell that had been struck. We could smell it, smell the air. You can smell the timber. And so we decided, you know what, let's head back to the station and call it a night. And here you can see in that video right there, you can see the large pieces of debris that's being thrown up in the air.
Incredible video here, and just the sheer power. And if I'm trying to get an idea of where we are, I believe that's the Dillons there. So the Andover Y would have just been east, that apartment complex right there, and you can see that would be right where the Andover YMCA is. I believe we're close or in that Dillons parking lot.
And the thing about it is people see all that debris flying around the top, and they believe that's just small pieces of debris. It's not. When you're
Lance, sorry to interrupt you. We are looking now inside the Andover Y.
Wow, that's amazing. We had heard that on our way back that the Y took a direct hit. I'm just hopeful that the warnings got out early enough and that people were able to take cover and shelter before it rolled into the Andover area.
Lance Ferguson, stand by here. I do have City of Augusta tweeting, "Our hearts go out to Andover tonight." Of course, Augusta, their neighbor city, as they are thinking about their neighbors tonight. We do have Sean logging out on scene. And Sean, can you tell us where you are and what you're seeing?
Yeah, right now I'm out here along Astor Road. This is on the eastern edge of Andover here, and I know it's kind of hard to see right now in the dark in front of me, but this is one of the houses that was hit by the tornado here tonight. You can see the roof has largely been taken off of that house. You can see plenty of damage. You can even see like a wall that it looks like it's been ripped off the side of that house. I'm going to move a little bit over to my left, and you're going to see another house here, or you can see to the roof. It looks like the roof has just been taken off of that house there. Just considerable damage to that house there. We're of course seeing plenty of emergency vehicles out here right now, kind of going door to door, just making sure that everyone is safe, and just trying to make sure that everyone is okay here tonight. I was able to speak with someone here who lives just over on Watercrest Street. This is just a block over. His house, he says luckily right now he's not seen too much damage there, but he says when he came over here, it was just kind of startling just to see the amount of damage that this portion of Astor Street suffered here tonight. But of course, a lot of people got those warnings, went to seek shelter out here. So we have yet to hear whether or not anyone was injured as far as this tornado, but of course you can just see the significant damage to at least just these two houses. I know just kind of looking off in the distance here, there's plenty of other houses that have damage. We're going to actually go to that person I talked with here, and here's what he had to say.
It immediately formed, dropped down. We were grabbing our dogs, getting into the basement, went down. The siren, probably 30 seconds after I said that, our sirens went off. I came up to check everything cautiously, came to the backyard, saw the total loss off to my southeast here, about 300 feet to the southeast of my home, and immediately went out, saw my neighbor, and he and I hopped in his truck and went over to assist anybody.
Yeah, and as you can see right now, we are actually right now in our car just because it's still a fairly significant storm outside. There's hail hitting us and plenty of lightning and stuff, so we're taking precautions here, just staying in our car where it is safe. But of course, you can still see plenty of emergency crews out in these conditions right now. So just the main message right now from emergency officials is just stay away from this area. Don't come here tonight. Let emergency crews do their work. Don't interfere with what they have to do here tonight. Mike.
John, good advice to not go into that area right now. Sean brought up a couple of good points, Lance. One is, and we heard from the man in that house, there was warning. They had time to get down, and that was so key with this whole storm system that there was plenty of warning.
Good, that's great. And as a chaser, we're not out there for the glory, to catch it on video. Our main goal is to warn the public, to get the information through to you guys, to warn the public as quickly and early as possible. This reminds me a lot of Greensburg and how we were involved with that. And so I'm so glad that we had the system in place to be able to put the warnings out. I know the Weather Service also monitors our videos, our live streams, so that also helps them.
Yeah, it's incredible. We saw so many angles of this tornado live, and that just wasn't the case 10, 15 years ago, and now we have live pictures, and it gives these people so much warning. As we look at the damage there in Sean's, as we know, they don't rate these tornadoes right away. The team goes in from the National Weather Service, but pretty significant damage. The roof is missing off those homes.
Correct, and I think that, you know, a lot of people will see the small debris flying around the top of the tornado, basically, and oh, it's just small pieces of debris. That's not the case. Those are roofs that you just saw in Sean's video. Those are part of buildings that are being picked up and tossed way up in the air. And when Scott and I saw the large debris starting to fly across the top, we thought, this is bad. It's now hitting an area where people live, where people work, the Y. We were talking about it on the way back in, that we think that it's probably, again, we don't know until they get in there and measure, but we're thinking an EF2, maybe an EF3. So it doesn't, the thing about it is people see how small it is at first. That has nothing to do with it. It can be very small and still do quite a bit of damage.
Well, and in this picture here, the cars are up against the building itself.
Nice. And see, these are Mike, these are the first times we're seeing these.
Yeah.
So by the time we're done with the chase, it's dark. We can't see anything. There's no power out there. There's no lights. So we don't know what kind of damage has been done.
All right, Lance Ferguson, and as we talk about all this damage, again, right now, dispatch over there in Butler County is they are going door to door telling us no reports of serious injuries. So if there's any good news in what happened tonight, it appears folks had plenty of warning. Even as it hit that Andover Y with people inside, right now no reports of serious injuries. We're going to continue to gather. Let's get a quick check here of what the weather situation is. Ross, I'm going to send it back to you quickly.
All right, thanks very much, Mike. We do want to update because we still have some very powerful thunderstorms out there tonight. No longer any tornado warnings that we need to alert you to, but this line of storms continues to produce what we believe to be some large hail, still likely happening now just to the south and east of Wichita. So as we go in closer, the areas of concern would be from around Mulvane. Looks like Derby now starting to move away from the larger hail, but moving through Rose Hill and Douglas. It's really the south end of this line of storms where we're probably still dealing with the strongest potential of large hail. And just to give you an idea of what we may be looking at here, at least at the bare minimum, probably some nickel to quarter size, but it may be slightly larger than that. Again, that's the hail potential that we're looking at in the southwest corner of Butler County. It does look like the heavy rain is starting to end in the Andover area, so conditions will improve. We're going to have a little bit of wind to deal with overnight. It's going to be pretty gusty again tomorrow, but in the short term, the rain is coming to an end around the Andover area as the storm shifts onto the southeast. You've got heavy rain moving in on Mulvane, and this thin green line that's arcing out in front of the batch of storms will be a gust front. You'll probably see winds maybe up to about 50 miles per hour with it. And then the heavy rain is going to set in right behind it, but it's going to be very intense for a little while. In some of these cases here, you may be getting 1.5 inches to 2 inches per hour. Severe thunderstorm warning takes us until 10:30, so we've got about another half an hour to go. Does include the Augusta area, does include southeast Wichita, but the storm is shifting to the southeast fairly quickly. The rain's starting to let up now in Andover, and conditions will get a bit better here once we clear the storms from that area. But from Mulvane up to Douglas, Rose Hill getting some heavy rain. We can follow this batch of storms now up toward the Augusta area. The rain starting to let up in Andover. We're still seeing some heavy rain moving through Rosalia, which, by the way, we do know reports of damage from that area. We don't know if Rosalia took a direct hit tonight, but there were reports of power flashes, and we know there's damage in and around Rosalia. That circulation now has been absorbed by the other thunderstorms that are racing south and east with the cold front. And in Greenwood County, looks like there's a threat of some strong winds, perhaps some quarter-size hail, especially from Eureka on north toward the Hamilton and Madison areas. So that's why we continue with severe thunderstorm warnings there. Situation getting much better now in Chase County, the heavy rain pushing out, and even up toward Emporia, things are beginning to calm down. We've had a new severe thunderstorm warning issued. This is going to be for the northeast corner of Sumner County, northwest Cowley County. Does include Mulvane, does stretch over toward the Atlanta area. Looks like Belle Plaine, just to the north of Wellington. There's a threat of some strong winds up to 60 miles per hour. And the hail threat continues to be something that we're monitoring for too, because we've had several reports of hail ranging in size from 1 to 2 inches in diameter, and there may still be some of that out there tonight. Now, this most recent report just before the top of the hour would suggest some dime-sized hail there from the Derby area, but southeast Sedgwick County now moving in on northeast Sumner County, northwest Cowley County, and southern Butler County. This is still a very dangerous complex of storms as we continue to track the cold front now. A line of storms would suggest heavy rain, strong winds, and hail, and the tornado threat diminishing rapidly now as we continue to see this line pushing on through south central Kansas. That's the situation for now. Let's go back over to Michael Schwenke.
Thank you. We want to get to some of our crews now out in the field. I want to begin with Haley Tucker if she's ready. Haley, not far away when this tornado hit. Haley, can you tell us where you are and what you've seen, some of the challenges getting around out there? All right, does not appear we have Haley, but you can see her live shot there. Another home that is has significant damage there in the Andover area. We do have Abby Higgum.
Just directly north of the YMCA, just across the road at Kellogg. So we are in a neighborhood off of South McCandless Road and East French Court.
All right, we'll try to come back to Haley here in a minute. Let's go over to Abby Higginbotham. Abby, can you tell us where you are and what you're seeing? All right, struggling with Abby due to audio, some of the rain affecting the gear. We do have Sean logging out in front of those couple of homes. Sean, I want to check back in with you.
Yeah, Mike, right now we are kind of at the end of Astor Street. This is on the eastern end of Andover, and right now this is a house you can see right in front of me. And it's kind of hard to see right now, but you can see that the roof has been taken off of this house. You can see the window there. That looks like it's just been busted in by that force of this tornado here tonight. But this is not the only house here at the end of Astor Street. If you follow me to my right, you have another house right here. You can see that one. You can just see the roof completely off of that house here tonight. So just definitely a very dangerous situation out here for many of these homeowners here tonight. And then there's another house right over to my next left. You can see here that roof also taken off. You can also see what looks like a wall that has just been ripped off the side of this house. It even looks like the garage itself was just lifted off over those cars there. So you can definitely see that there was a lot of damage out here tonight. I'm told there's other damage. We've been seeing emergency crews just over to our west, the next street over, continuing to kind of go house to house, checking to make sure that everyone is okay here tonight. I was able to speak with someone who lived just to the next block over, a block to the east here. And this is what he had to tell me here tonight. Basically, he basically went right into his basement right after hearing the warning here and getting to safety.
Heard stuff hitting our home, and it sounded, we couldn't tell whether it was hail or whether it was our own home that was, and I can't tell the damage right now because it was pretty much after dark. So far, I see shingles still attached and everything else, and we're at the very end of Watercress here, and this is the newest street in this development. So. A lot of these folks moved in September and October, so those homes are a little bit older. So it was a shock.
Yeah, and as Mr. Clay told me there, luckily his house, not too much damage there, but as you can see, a lot of other houses did sustain some fairly significant damage here tonight. Luckily, so far, we haven't been hearing of any injuries, but of course, the main message tonight for emergency crews out here is just stay away. If you do not need to, if you don't live out here, if you don't need to come out here, don't, just stay away. Let them get their work done here tonight as they work to just assess the situation, assess the scene out here, and just make sure that everyone out here is safe and okay. Mike?
Thank you. Thanks for that report. We are getting some new information here from the Andover Police Department saying multiple agencies are assisting right now. We heard reports Wichita and Sedgwick County in that area as well, as that operations center has now been activated. But they say if you need a place right now for shelter, of course there are storms out there, there is no power in most of Andover. So if you need a shelter, they are telling you to go to St. Vincent de Paul, so that's at 123 North Andover Road. So if you're needing a place to go, if you have friends or family out there and you're able to reach them and tell them that due to the power outages, please tell them to go there, St. Vincent de Paul, and they will take care of you there. They say roads are blocked on almost all major intersections in the Andover area due to downed power lines and large debris in the way. And you heard Sean trying to pass that message along to stay away, because so many times when this happens, people want to go look at the damage. This is not the time. We have to let the emergency crews do their work. Also getting a report here from the YMCA. We saw some of the video and pictures. The YMCA saying it suffered significant damage as a result of the storm. Here's the good news we can pass along here. They are thankful that all staff and all Y members took shelter there at the branch. They had time to take shelter and none were injured. As we look again at some of the incredible photos, and as we get that report that no injuries because it was likely busy at the time, these cars were in the parking lot, and we saw the video of that main desk area, the roof and everything coming down. But they say because they had time, they took shelter there in the branch. There were no injuries there at the YMCA, so great news there. They, of course, say the branch will be closed until further notice, but again, you're getting a good look at some of that damage. We're going to try to go back to Haley Tucker. We do have a long delay just because the cell phone signal out there, but Haley out there on South McCandless Street, I believe. Haley, can you tell us again what you're seeing?
Yes, Mike, you're right. South McCandless Road, it's just north of the YMCA, just right across Kellogg here. As you can see, there's a house here that has sustained a lot of damage. We pulled up, we got out of the car, we made sure that people were not inside. We didn't find anybody. Andover Fire got on scene here, went and checked the entire house. You can't really see it. I'm going to try to zoom in just a little bit here and make my windshield wipers go, but that is the inside of the house at the top there. The wall is completely gone. You can see the flashing light of the motorcycle there. You can tell that the garage has completely gone sideways here. We got out a second ago and looked at some of the damage around this area neighborhood. Now that the rain has subsided just a little bit here, I can get out here. You can check back in with me, but it's extensive damage. We went over to Andover City Hall when we first got to Andover here, and there is extensive tree line damage. It looks like the tornado took a direct path, hitting this house, as you can see, as the lightning puts a little bit of light on the top of the house there. But the park and the City Hall are just north of this location right here, and it looked like a construction zone. There were trees uprooted, knocked over, power lines down. We saw a couple of cars that had been flipped over as well, and power lines down. Obviously, we needed to get out of there for safety reasons and let emergency crews do their job, but it is very, very extensive over here. I talked with the Andover Fire Department firefighters who were here very quickly to ask if everyone was okay. They said there are a lot of injuries. They couldn't respond if they were serious or not, but as you reported, Mike, that thankfully no one was hurt in the YMCA damage that we saw earlier. But we are hearing from firefighters on scene going into these houses to look that there are injuries reported right now.
Haley, thank you. So let's hope as we get that report of some possible injuries that those injuries are minor at this point. But obviously the stage right now, and it has been a while since the Wichita metro area has dealt with any kind of a storm like this. In fact, it's been years, as we've just essentially been in a tornado drought, which is a good thing. But here we are, end of April, as we are dealing with some tornado damage. So right now they are going door to door, asking that you stay clear of those areas. And you saw in Haley's shot there just how dark it is out there. They have to have lights just to light up the houses, no street lights. So just be very careful and do not go out there unless you have to. Again, this just breaking that the police department saying head to St. Vincent Church there. That's at 123 North Andover Road if you need a place to go because of the rain and everything, and if your home has been damaged. After this, as the sun comes up tomorrow and they just make sure everyone's safe, that's the first thing that they need to do. Then the crews will go in, determine just how strong this tornado was, and we'll have a better idea of the path as well. Let's get a quick update here as the storms continue to hopefully push out of our area. Ross, what is the latest?
Is ongoing at the present time, but we do still have severe thunderstorm warnings out there tonight. A line of storms still producing hail and wind, and we still have severe thunderstorm warnings to tell you about this evening. Again, no tornado warnings. We're fortunate for that, and we're lucky tonight because the storms are not going to stick around for much longer. So we've already started to see conditions improve in and around Andover. The heavy rain has shifted to the south and east. On the south end of this line of storms, we can trace them down into northern sections of Oklahoma, just to the west of Medford, Oklahoma, and scattered thunderstorms continue both west and southwest of Wellington. Now, these storms could be getting a bit stronger. At the moment, though, we believe hail's probably smaller than dime size. Could be some gusty winds, no warning including Wellington, but when you get north of Wellington, now you start to get into the stronger thunderstorms and the capability of hail up to the size of quarters from around Mulvane on over toward the Douglas area, and there's going to be some blinding rainfall for a little while as these storms continue to push on through the area. Severe thunderstorm warnings are out there tonight. Northern Cowley County, northeastern Sumner County, and it does include a small part of Sedgwick County still in a severe thunderstorm warning tonight. But we're anticipating that in the next 2 hours, this entire line will clear our coverage area. So as we approach 11 o'clock and midnight, we're going to see most of the storm shift on into southeast Kansas, and it looks like things will begin to ease up on the area. Some very heavy rainfall still moving through southern Butler County. We do know there's some damage around the Rosalia area. We don't know to what extent because a lot of efforts have been focused in Andover in western parts of Butler County, and we do know that there's going to be some damage and going to need to be some assessment done around Rosalia. So kind of recapping what has all taken place tonight, we had the initial tornado that touched down that was south of Andover. That storm initially tracked on to the northeast, and then we had a second report of a tornado that happened. It was very close to El Dorado, but we think that was very brief, and there are no reports of damage that we're aware of from El Dorado. And then we had another tornado reported near Rosalia. So essentially you're dealing with the same storm that has gone through a couple different cycles, if you will, initially starting near Andover, then near El Dorado, and then we had that storm that produced a tornado near Rosalia. Now the storm has been absorbed by the entire line, and that has essentially lowered our tornado threat now, and I would be hard-pressed to think that we're going to see anything additional develop as far as tornadoes are concerned. But as we kind of back the radar out and show you how things look across south central Kansas, the line of storms still forming, still back building, if you will, back to the southwest into northern Oklahoma. But as the cold front sweeps on through, this line of storms will get shoved on into southeast Kansas here within the next couple of hours. But in the short term, from around Sumner County up through Wellington, now moving through Belle Plaine or getting close to Belle Plaine. Now you see the new severe thunderstorm warning there for Sumner County and western Cowley County. So now the entire line through south central Kansas has a warning tied to it. We're anticipating some hail up to the size of quarters and some strong winds. So just to recap here what's happening in south central Kansas, that new severe thunderstorm warning being issued to include the Wellington area, does include Winfield area as well. The thunderstorms moving in on the area still capable of producing some quarter-size hail and winds perhaps gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Individual storms look like they're tracking to the northeast, but the entire line is shifting east. We shouldn't have to worry about a flooding scenario here because these storms are not going to be sticking around for that much longer. But you can see the storms here west of Wellington. Again, threats are going to be hail up to the size of quarters and some strong winds. We're seeing that move through the Mulvane area, and it looks like as we go in a little closer, we're seeing some of that heavy rainfall impacting Douglas now. Starting to see things ease up in and around Rose Hill. Very heavy rainfall. Again, nickel to perhaps quarter-size hail and some strong winds. Also a lot of lightning, and that may by itself create some additional power outages as the storms continue on through the area. Let's go back over to Rachel Hackbars. She's got an update on some of the reports of power outages that are coming in this evening.
Well, Ross, as we heard Haley say and show us, that there are so many down power lines right now because of all of this damage that we've been seeing. So right now we do want to go ahead and pull up the Evergy power outage map for you to just kind of give you a better idea of what is happening right now. There are currently more than 160 outages affecting more than 18,000 customers. Again, this is the Evergy map that you're looking at. If you take a close look at your screen, you're going to see these small dots. It has numbers. It's got those colors, purple, blue, green. When you click on those dots, I've got it pulled up right here on my iPad. I clicked on the dot for Wichita, or I should say the circle. And that you can see that there are thousands and thousands of customers without power right now. Let's see on my iPad, it says more than 13,046 customers are affected right now. And you can click around here on this website. If you go, we're going to have this up for you on our website and our app, KWCH.com, and see that over by El Dorado, we are seeing some 73 customers. But again, it varies from area, but a majority of these outages are going to be over here in the Wichita, Andover area that we are showing you right here on our Storyteller right now. And as Mike has been mentioning, there is a place for you to go if you are one of these people that are affected right now and your home has been damaged or you are without power. That is St. Vincent de Paul Church. That's on Andover Street. So again, if you are one of these customers that are affected, or maybe your home has been destroyed or damaged, there is a place for you to go and get help right now. We do want to go ahead and send it back over to Michael Schwenke and see some more of what's happening with those damage reports. Mike, what can you tell us?
Rachel, let's walk you through everything we know. I want to take you through some of the video we're getting in here to our newsroom. I want to start, though, again, Sedgwick County activating its Emergency Operations Center. This is going to be a mutual aid situation where Butler County is not alone. Sedgwick County crews have headed in there to help. Surrounding counties, all of those rescue crews heading that direction. But some of that video as it formed just south of the Kellogg area. So that's where that Andover Y is. Here we can hear some of the sirens, but because it's in such a populated area and we live in a time of iPhones, we are just getting incredible views from every single angle, north, south, east, west, of this tornado moving through the Andover area. Right now, from dispatchers, no reports of serious injuries, but we did hear from Haley Tucker out there talking to some firefighters who are going door to door, saying they are seeing some injuries. But here, as you look across, this is coming from downtown Wichita. We know this path of this tornado. Andover has been through this before, just going now more than 30 years ago, but coming very close to that path. Obviously not near as significant as that tornado, but this one significant enough to cause some severe damage. This is a look from above. From someone flying into the airport. But as we talk about just some of these incredible views that we got from this tornado, and here's another one as it crosses the road. So most of the damage is in and around the Andover Road and Kellogg area. So that's essentially where that Andover YMCA is. That Andover Y sustaining significant damage, as well as a lot of homes. When they rate this damage, they go in now, that's how a tornado is rated, when they go into that, we hear EF3, EF4, they go in, look at this damage, and that's how they rate how strong these tornadoes are. So when you look at damage like this, that it is able to bring off the stones off of this YMCA, move cars from the parking lot against the building. From another picture, we were even able to see a car that had been flipped over. The Y was very busy at this time. Thankfully, as we look at some of the video from inside, as I said just a little while ago, the Y saying no one was hurt, that they heeded warnings. They took shelter there in the YMCA. But what we don't know right now, as Haley was talking about, is just how many injuries and there are. This is a look from the Dillon's parking lot. So if you're on Kellogg, you can see the Dillons over there to the right, and it's a short video as we look at that. But just past that, you can see those apartments, and just past those apartments, that's the YMCA, and look at the debris that we're seeing in the air there as it hits that YMCA area. There's the Farha Sports Complex down there, There's an elementary school as well in that area in those apartment complexes. I did talk to Josh Wells. We had him on earlier. He was right there as this hit. Also on the school board, the good news is initially there was some worry about the Andover Central school complex there. They have the sports complex there and obviously the school itself. But it was not badly damaged. That they're hopeful that there may be just some roof damage, but then the park just beyond that was hit. So many neighborhoods, though, in this Andover area, as it is a suburban town where that's mostly what it is neighborhoods as it headed then to the north. And we saw from Haley's shot that there has been some damage as well. Okay, so let's go back to Haley. Haley, and again, she's on a delay here because of the signal. Haley, can you tell us again, you did talk to some firefighters. They're going door to door in their process, and they said there are some injuries, but we just don't know how significant those injuries are.
Yeah, Mike, talked to those Andover firefighters. They were at the house that we showed about 5-10 minutes ago that had been completely ripped apart. They said that there are a lot of injuries. That's the wording that they used. They couldn't comment if it was serious injuries. We're hoping and praying that everyone is okay here tonight in Andover, but we moved locations here. You can see as the lightning lights it up behind this. This is a power line. We are staying in the car and lighting up the road. There are people walking around here. They have on vests. It looks like they could be maybe with an electric company or just surveying at this point, but we are lighting it up for them to be able to walk around this area safely. As you can see, let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit here. I am on my phone, but you can see power lines on the ground. You can see this power pole was completely pushed or blown to the side, as this is just north of the YMCA. So we are just north of the YMCA across Kellogg. This is on South McCandless Road. This area over here, Mike, looks to be one of the hardest hit areas. I can see the tree lines have completely been ripped apart. There were trees uprooted. It, like I told you in the last time you talked with me, it looked like a construction zone as the trees were completely just torn over, pulled out from the ground. You can see right there, it looks to be a trailer, the truck bed. At this point, we can't tell if that truck was split in half. As you can see, those men walking around here that were lighting up the road for them to be able to safely walk around this area and survey. But I mean, you can see extensive damage around here in Andover. Again, we talked with those firefighters. Hopefully there are no serious injuries, but they did say there are a lot of injuries. As you can see here, we continue to pray for the people here in Andover tonight. I live just about 5 miles away from here. I saw the tornado touch the ground. It stayed on the ground for quite a while as it ripped through Andover here. Scary situation. We just talked with a neighbor as well who said he was out of town, but he was out checking on his neighbors to make sure they were okay. Again, it's the damage out here is extensive. Obviously, we won't know until morning, till we get some daylight on the damage out here. But hopefully, again, we are hoping and praying that these folks out here in Andover are okay. But again, like we've been saying all night, please do not try to come out here. It is very dangerous. We got out here very early because we did see the tornado. We went to report on this as fast as we could to make sure that people knew what was going on, to make sure people were safe. And again, we're just out here tonight surveying the damage, trying to get all the reports that we can. But again, we did talk with a firefighter who said there is a lot of injuries.
Haley, thank you. And again, looking at Haley's shot is why they don't want you in and around there. There are power lines down and just a lot of dangers. And in fact, a lot of injuries happen after the tornado has moved through because of all those hazards. Sean Logging, he was out in front of a couple of homes, talked to that homeowner. As I look at his shot here, looks like you're on one of the roads that have been blocked off. Sean, can you tell us where you are and what you're seeing now?
Yeah, so right now we are here in East Andover. This is along Astor Street, just at the end of the cul-de-sac here. That is where we're seeing at least 3 houses significantly damaged, a lot of roof damage down here, walls just torn off from the side of the house, just some significant damage. And we're also seeing some other damage to other houses in the area. I'm gonna get out of the way here so you can just get a look at the scene here. You can see that emergency crews are down here right now. They were just assessing this area. I've also seen some people coming back to these houses, just kind of getting their animals that were kind of still there, just kind of trying to assess the scene right now, just taking it all in. Of course, this is very startling, a very shocking scene here tonight, as you can just see the significant damage that the homes here just really suffering a significant damage here from this tornado. I was able to speak with someone who just lives to the street to the west of here. Luckily, his house really wasn't damaged at all. He was fortunate in that matter, but he said he came down here as soon as the storm cleared out a little bit, and just kind of saw the scale of the damage, tried to help out those down here. This is what he told me here earlier tonight.
I've been close, but never that close. I just hope, kudos to the emergency personnel that are responding to this. They're always great and quick and, expedient with, their care, and just pray that everyone's okay. It's an emotional, a lot of people are upset, and there are going to be a lot of people that are going to have a lot of needs in the very near future.
And I'm also told this is kind of a newer development here in Andover, so people here haven't lived in this area all that long. We just saw the emergency crews kind of clear out of this area, but they've been going home to home here, just kind of checking on everything, making sure everyone is okay. We can hear like fire alarms or smoke alarms kind of going off in the distance, just beeping regularly, activated because of that damage here tonight. But it is definitely a very eerie scene. And as Haley was saying, the message tonight is just, if you do not have to be in these areas, if you do not live here or do not know anyone that lives in this area, just stay away. Let emergency crews do the work that they need to do here tonight. Just make sure that everyone is okay, they get everyone out safely, and just make sure that everyone is okay. Mike?
Sean, thank you. Cassie Wilson's been in our mobile weather lab all night. In fact, she was all the way up in northern Kansas initially, following some rotation up there, came back down here, followed this storm. Cassie, can you tell us what you've seen and where you are right now?
Yeah, Mike, we're on French Court here. We're trying to meet up with Haley. So you're taking a look at some of the damage. You can see a structure there in the distance has completely been moved over on its side. We're seeing a lot of tree limbs down. So they do have Andover Road closed off for a large portion of it. So we had to kind of navigate through neighborhoods to get back here. And as we were navigating through these neighborhoods, right in between Central and 13th and just to the east of Andover Road, you just see a lot of damage. Trees are down, limbs are down. I'm going to kind of pan. We don't have the best lighting for you here because we are in the mobile weather lab, but we are seeing damage to these structures, and we are going to be working to get to Haley Tucker so we can pull her up for some more information, since she has been on this scene since earlier today. We do have law enforcement working up behind us, so we're going to go touch base with them and see what else we can find out. And at this point, I'm going to send it back to you.
Cassie, thank you. Joining me again, Lance Ferguson, one of our chasers. Lance, we continue to get just more and more chaser video in. In fact, I believe we have some just going into our system right now. So I just want some of your analysis here as we look at some more of this video. And Control, let's go ahead and roll that if we have it ready. And we'll talk about that and what Lance saw as well as he was out there. So this coming from one of our affiliates out of Oklahoma, but they come up here and chase as well. Take us through what we're seeing here and what you saw as you came in from the south, Lance.
So basically, we're coming in from the south, so that we had the same type of view as this, as you're seeing on the screen right now. And you can see it initially started out as a small rogue tornado, and,
yeah, right.
And then as you can tell, as you go higher, it becomes wider and wider. And just because it's small like this, it's still going to do a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. And we could tell from our vantage point, we were about 3 to 4 miles from it. We started seeing large pieces of debris flying up in the air. And that's when Scott Roberts and I knew that, okay, it's hitting homes, because that's not just little debris. Those are roofs, those are people's houses, those are large items that are being tossed in the air. It was a bit of a challenging evening because we didn't know when and where the storms were going to fire. We started in Derby, ended up all the way north up to Newton, and then when the storm started going up in Clearwater, that's when we hustled back down to the south thinking that this was the one, and we played it right. So we were glad to be there to help. Again, you can see the thin rope. This is what we call a rope tornado. See how it bends off there towards the bottom. We were seeing a lot of that. The tornado itself kept changing sizes and shapes. It started out as a very small thin needle and then immediately blew up and became what we call a stovepipe. It was pretty wide at some points.
Well, and this storm developed very quickly.
Yes, it did.
It was falling apart initially, kind of came back together.
Yes, and that was the challenging thing for us is we're watching it, and you can watch it on radar all day long, but the skies are what talks to us. That's what tells us, okay, we need to hang on and watch this. Before this tornado happened, we had what we call a shear funnel, which is a wind funnel that goes horizontally, and just behind that, Scott and I are looking at this going, okay, it's starting to rotate, and there's what we call rear flank downdraft, which punches a hole in basically the bottom of the storm, and then sure enough, it started forming the funnel, and then it dropped. So as soon as it started going down, we were on the phone, letting the Weather Service know, letting you, the station, know. So we were glad to be a part of the warning as it developed.
Talk about the setup today, because it was juiced and ready to go.
Right.
Wasn't necessarily a perfect setup for tornadoes.
It was not. It was very frustrating for us. We kept telling ourselves we had to be patient. The forecast models, even the Storm Prediction Center, even our own guys were saying, storms could start firing as early as 4 o'clock, and that dry line just hung right along Kingman, Sedgwick County line, and it didn't really do a lot. And then finally, when the upper level trigger came in, that's what spun everything up. So we were fortunate enough again to watch the skies and be able to know, okay, it's still doing something, whereas radar is showing
incredible shot there showing just the general rotation
and
of the storm.
You see the daylight behind the
Lance, pause for 1 second. I have to let our KSCW viewers go. Again, we are saying goodbye, returning them to regularly scheduled programming. We continue right now on KWCH. Lance, we're looking at this storm.
Yes.
We see the whole thing rotating.
And you can see the whole thing is rotating. This is the wall cloud, and if you see the daylight, that space in behind the tornado, that's basically the RFD. It's what we call the rear flank downdraft. It punches a hole in basically the bottom of the storm. The wind comes down from the top of the storm, hits the ground, and helps spin that tornado up. Again, these are the same type of images that we were seeing. Fortunately, we were in a good position to be able to have a clear view of it the entire time from the time it started until it finished. The only downside to it is we didn't know exactly where it was at.
Right.
We saw the power flashes, we saw the debris going up, but we couldn't tell you exactly where it was at, but we just knew it was going in to the Andover area. And when we started hearing reports that the Y took a hit, then we figured, okay, it was probably just south of Andover Road in Kellogg, and then crossed there at the Andover Y. So it did a lot of dancing. You would think it was about to dissipate, and then all of a sudden it would cycle back up at the top, become extremely wide, and then come right back down. I don't think at any time did we ever not see debris at the bottom. You could at times see that the tornado wasn't condensated, wasn't all the way down to the ground, but you could still see the dust coming up from the bottom. And so we knew that it was still churning and still going.
And it's just been a while for this area. We haven't had tornadoes for a long time.
We were talking about that today, that a lot of the stuff that we've had in Kansas has been out west or up north. To have one, I don't want to say finally, but to have one here in our neck of the woods, I don't want to say it's about time, but it was bound to happen.
Right.
And so...
well, and the good news is we don't forget how to take shelter, because apparently people heeded the warnings today, and that's the big takeaway.
And I think that's a collaborative effort between the media, the National Weather Service, trying to let everyone know, a day in advance. I mean, this morning they were talking about what type of weather we could have today, and then with having us chasers out there to be able to say, this is what's going on, the Weather Service was able to pull the trigger on the tornado warning itself. The media is helps out tremendously as well, letting people know, hey, it's coming this direction. So great collaborative effort on everybody's part. So all you can do is just hope that people heed the warning and take shelter.
Yep, and speaking of taking shelter, Lance, thank you for coming in. Again, as we keep some of these videos and pictures up here, there is a church there, I believe 123 North Andover Road. That's where they're asking if you need to take shelter, that you can head there because, again, no power there in the Andover area. Let's get, before we go back to Ross, here's a look at that. That's St. Vincent de Paul Church, 123 North Andover Road. Again, out of power in that area. If you have relatives who may be needing help, food, water, shelter, send them that direction to St. Vincent Church. Ross, let's send it back to you.
Take you back through the tornado as it looked on radar. A very interesting looking scenario that played out tonight as we kind of watched the storm. It was fairly weak as it went through Wichita. We did start to get a couple hail reports, and then all of a sudden when the storm was right on the Sedgwick-Butler County line, look what the tornado looked like on radar. Here's the main part of the hail and wind producing section of the storm, and then separated from it all, that was the tornado right there to the, Andover's labeled here right along the turnpike, but right there to the south of Highway 400, that was the tornado, potentially some debris getting kicked up. And then go to 819 this evening, and there's the tornado. Again, here's the main part of the heavy rain, the hail that was reported, and separated from the parent part of the thunderstorm is the tornado and the debris there. And then we go to 826, and you see how the storm continues on to the north. As it crosses over the turnpike, it does begin to weaken, and then the storm eventually shifts on to the northeast, goes through a cycling phase where the initial tornado lifts, and then we started to get reports of another funnel cloud, a brief tornado on the south edge of El Dorado. We want to emphasize, have not heard any reports of damage there. And then we get the other tornado reported near Rosalia tonight. So very interesting how this whole thing has played out. Now we're dealing with a line of storms. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue at this hour for Sumner County, Cowley County, the northern part of Cowley County, up into southern Butler. And if you're in advance of these storms, it is safe to expect strong winds, heavy rainfall, and hail that might go up to the size of quarters. Now, it has been quite some time since we've had any significant hail reported with these storms, but we know that potential is still out there tonight. And so anybody that might be in the warned area should be bracing for some strong winds and the possibility of some hail. We're seeing the storms in Wellington now, but it's about over with. The western edge should be coming through in the next 5 to 10 minutes right there along Highway 81 and the turnpike south out of Wellington. Looks like heavy rainfall, some hail possible there. And we continue to see heavy rainfall and hail shifting southeast to Mulvane down toward the Belle Plaine area. We've got heavy rainfall stretching north of Winfield up through Atlanta. Looks like the rain has come to an end in Rose Hill. Going to be calming down in Douglas here shortly as the heavy rain and the wind shifts on to the south and east. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue in Elk and, well, at least Elk and southern portions of Greenwood County tonight. Looks like some heavy rainfall and some small hail still expected there. So we've moved away from the tornado threat. It doesn't look like we're going to see any repeat performance of what happened earlier this evening, dealing now with some significant rainfall, some wind, and the threat of hail up to the size of quarters. But this is the line, and we still anticipate that by midnight tonight, almost all of this will have pushed out of our coverage area. It's getting close. In the wake of the damage that we've seen from tonight's storms, we do need things to kind of calm down so we can essentially speed up the rescue and recovery efforts that are underway in the places that do have damage. But for the next hour, hour and a half, we will continue to track severe thunderstorms with the threat of hail, wind, and locally heavy rains, again stretching mostly across south central Kansas. As we take a look back kind of at the statewide view of the radar, most of the severe weather is starting to come to an end. We're no longer have the tornado watch out there tonight. It's been replaced with a severe thunderstorm watch that covers southeast Kansas. The storms racing through Kansas City, also producing some strong winds and heavy rainfall. But looking behind all of this, except for the wind, which is going to continue to be an issue all the way through Saturday, it does look like things will be calming down with respect to severe weather as this moves on through south central and southeast Kansas. So at the present time, we've got Sumner County, Cowley County, southern sections of Greenwood County, and northern Elk County in severe thunderstorm warnings. But once again, we're no longer seeing any significant rotation or tornadoes with this batch of storms across south central Kansas this evening. Let's go back over to Mike.
Ross, thank you. Let's walk you through, again, what we know right now. If you are just joining us, and I apologize if you're hearing some repeat information, but due to the situation out there, And the people needing some of this information, we're going to continue to pass it along in a situation like this. That's our goal right now, is just to share that information as we have it. So this is going to be a mutual aid situation. We know Sedgwick County, again, activating its Emergency Operations Center. They are coordinating with Butler County. They are partners in a situation like this. The county lines don't exist as all of those crews roll in to help each other, and that's what's happening right now. They are asking, right now, they're passing along to us that they are asking people to stay out of the area unless you are part of those emergency crews, because they really do need to go door to door. There are power lines down, trees down. We saw that in Haley's shot earlier, just how dangerous the situation is out there, and you will only hinder their efforts. So they are begging people, because we are in the metro area and there's so many people, they're begging people to please stay out of that area. But the Operations Center has been activated. Again, the shelter there at the church at 123 North Andover Road. Continue to get some new looks of this, and in fact we're just seeing, and we're going to try to get this on for you, but some new pictures here coming into our newsroom of a neighborhood, and Sean is out at one of those, but it's so dark, but we do have some daylight pictures of part of a neighborhood essentially flattened. These are homes taken down to the foundation, and when they're rating these kind of tornadoes, they look at that damage and they decide, is it enough just to take a roof off or just branches? Did it knock down walls, or did it take a house down to the foundation? And I can tell you, we are seeing pictures of homes that have been flattened, and there is one of them. Significant damage, and we heard Lance Ferguson explaining how this tornado, it didn't stay down one strength, and it wasn't a solid path, straight line, that it was weak, it strengthened, it weakened again, and then it dipped back down, but fairly significant damage in a couple of those neighborhoods. That video right there that you saw, that's the tornado as it hit the Andover Y, and that's what we're seeing here. The Andover Y active at the time and open. Cars slammed up against the building. The roof came in on the front desk area as you walk into that Y where you check in. It's a couple stories in their entryway there. That roof came down, but the YMCA sharing some great news as we look inside here as to what I was just describing. The YMCA, though, again sharing tonight that people heeded warnings. They took shelter there in the Y, and no one was hurt in the YMCA. The questions we still have tonight, what kind of injuries do we have from this storm? 911 dispatch not getting reports of any significant injuries that we know of. Haley had talked to some of the firefighters going door to door, and they did have some reports of injuries. Again, some of these injuries can come after the tornado hits as people come out of their shelters, and there are power lines down, nails everywhere, so we can see some of those injuries in a situation like this as well. Significant power outages. Rachel Hackbarth in the studio monitoring that with Evergy. And Rachel, can you update us on just how many power outages there are?
Yeah, Mike, as you mentioned, we're seeing so much damage, obviously, but also so many down power lines, and it is creating some issues all across the metro and other portions of Kansas as well. It's just creating issues everywhere. I can't click on this because it's not interactive at this point, but I do have it pulled up on my iPad, so I want to get you update on those numbers that Mike just mentioned. Right now, we do have 297 active outages in the Evergy coverage area. That is affecting more than 22,000 customers. To be exact, it's 22,107 customers. You can see the highlighted area right there on your screen. A majority of those people affected right now are in the Wichita area. They're over by where the Andover tornado touched down. So again, a lot of customers, thousands of customers. If I click on it right here on my screen personally, it says more than 13,000 customers are without power right now and are affected. So this is going to be something they're going to have to continue to work on and get all this fixed. In the meantime, if you are one of these people, one of these families who've lost their homes or their electricity is out right now, as Mike has been telling you, there is a place that you can go. You can go and get some sort of help right now. It's at the Vincent St. DePaul Church. That's on Andover Road. But again, if you need help, St. Vincent de Paul Church. So again, that's on 123 North Andover Road. If you need help, they have set up an emergency shelter there right now. So you can go again to the Andover shelter to get help if you are one of those families that are without power right now. But again, more than 160 outages. To be exact, this number has changed a lot. It's 297 outages right here on my iPad, and about 22,000 customers are without power at this point. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and send it to Mike and see what else we're learning at this moment. Mike?
Rachel, as you talk about that shelter, if you're watching, you're affected there in the Andover area, there are going to be several stages of this. This is a stage where emergency management in the county, they're not able to really share a lot of information because they're still in the rescue operation mode, getting people to that shelter if they need it. We'll continue here throughout the night, monitoring information. Then we'll move into different stages of assistance to where they will likely set up centers where homeowners can come in, get the assistance they need. Because we are in very unique times here with supply chain, obviously, fixing things and rebuilding, it's going to be a whole new challenge, unlike anything we've seen in this area, just because of some of the challenges of getting some of the supplies that crews will need, not only to get power back on, but obviously to fix or even in some cases rebuild these homes. Sean Logging has been out there talking to some of the homeowners. Sean, can you explain, as we go to you here, what it's been like just getting in and around Andover right now, and are there people out there right now?
Yeah, Mike. Where I'm at right now is the end of Astor Street. Right now there are some people out here just trying to fix up some of the damage to some of their homes. As we've been showing you all night, there's 3 homes here at the end of this block that have just been significantly damaged. But talking with some of the other people that live in this area or just that are coming to assess damage to family members' homes, like they tell me that even though like the front of the house might look fine, the roof is largely gone. The back of their house is sustained significant damage. So there's people are taking in a lot of bad information here very quickly here tonight. It's definitely going to be a very long cleanup, and definitely a lot of daylight is going to probably help us get a better scale and better information of just the scale of the damage here tonight. I know it's hard to see behind me here, but this is just one of the houses that sustained damage here tonight. You can see the car just kind of mangled up there in that parking lot. It's just definitely a very intense, probably scary scene out here tonight for sure. But a lot of people are out here right now just kind of assessing the scene, trying to kind of get back into their homes and just kind of see what type of damage there is out here. Mike?
Sean, thank you. Haley Tucker standing by with, I believe, someone out there right now who rode out the storm. Haley, where are you and who are you with?
Yeah, Mike, so we are still at our location just north of the YMCA here, where this neighborhood took pretty significant damage. We're standing here with Josh, who rode out the storm. You said you saw the damage, you saw the tornado coming, you jumped in the cellar.
Yeah. Well, I saw it across the street basically, and then just got everybody out of the house and down into the storm shelter, and I filmed it while it came across the street and across Kellogg right over here, and got in just at the last 10 seconds or so. Something like that. We had about, 3 minutes worth of warning, something like that, when the sirens went out. Because as soon as the sirens went off, I looked out the window. When I looked out the window, I actually saw the funnel coming down and jumping up and coming down. And I was like, oh. So got everybody out of the house and got them to the shelter fast enough, thankfully. So just kind of glances.
And so we're trying to take a look at, all of the lights are out right now. We can't see that much, but you can see, we've got a power pole right above us here. Power lines down here. Talk about the extensive damage that you've already seen.
Well, over here, it's really not that bad on the west side of the street. The east side of this street, on the other hand, this house, and the house right past us is just annihilated. It actually looks like it got really strong, right after our house, so we got pretty lucky on that.
And do you know these neighbors over here?
Yeah, we know them all. We went over and checked on everybody. Everybody seems to be okay. Didn't have any, injuries to speak of per se, so it seems to have been about as best as you can get. So.
And again, just tell me, so you told me you were running to the storm shelter, you're running to your cellar, and you see it coming right for you. What's going through your mind at that point?
Same thing that went the last couple times I went through one of these things, and it was just I was more concerned about the kids than anything. Just get them in the shelter, and after that I'd be fine, because I've been through several of them, so it's not as big of a deal for me. But still a little bit edgy.
And you said you saw it hit the YMCA.
Yeah.
And there is an elementary school over there as
Yeah,
well.
I was standing on the top of my storm shelter with my camera taking video and stuff, which I'll probably submit to you guys. But yeah, I saw it hit the YMCA. I didn't see it hit the school because it's behind everything, so I can't see everything back there. But it was jumping up and down a lot back there, so I don't know if it actually hit the school or if it didn't. But I know it got the Y.
And I mean, when the tornado happened, it was pretty light outside. I mean, it was clear, it was visible.
Yeah, it was real easy to see.
And so when it first came down, it was obviously smaller than.
Yeah.
Talk about when it
it was just a little rope when it first, and it got bigger. And by the time it got, past our neighborhood, I'm not sure exactly how far down it got a lot bigger. So.
All right. Well, we are very thankful that you're okay,
Yeah.
and that you said you checked on the other neighbors out here.
They seem to be okay.
Right.
Other than homeless.
Yeah. And we want to show some of the damage as well. If we can keep it here for just a second, Josh. Thank you. I'm going to just walk around.
Yeah, go for it.
So as you can see, the power lines here down. There is no power out here in this area, right, Josh? That we know of. So we're still staying away from them as a precaution. But Josh, you said that was just one of your trash beds, truck beds.
Yeah, it was just a truck bed. Yeah, it took it through my actual truck and then landed it here.
So it was a couple,
it was
20, 30.
all the way back. It's probably a good 50 feet, back that direction.
Okay, so as you can see here, a truck bed that is completely flipped over here. You said 50 feet away.
At least.
The house is okay. As we can see, one of your other family members was telling me there was a tree that had fallen. But yeah, I mean, take a look. As we show you right here, the power pole is completely sideways. I'm ducking under the power lines right now as we speak. But there's so much damage. We haven't made our way over there just yet. But the east side we showed you earlier in the newscast, there was a house that there was extensive damage to that house. Firefighters were searching for anybody that was inside the house. Thankfully, no one was there. Like we said earlier, we talked with some of the firefighters who said there were, quote, a lot of injuries. But thankfully, we're not hearing about any serious injuries thus far. But still, we're here, again, just north of the YMCA here in Andover. It looks like the tornado really took just a direct path through this way.
Yeah, it just went right down this field and this guy's yard and followed the edge of the road.
And Mike, we did see some of the damage at City Hall. We saw some of the damage at the park by City Hall. It, like I've been saying, it looked like a construction zone. I mean, the tornado ripped through there. Trees were completely rooted from the ground, laying on their side. I had to ask a couple of people if this was a construction zone or not because of how much the damage was. But again, thankfully, we are not hearing about any serious injuries thus far. The police still out, as I can see some. It's extensive damage out here in Andover, and thankfully, Josh, thank you for talking with us. Josh's family is okay. Everyone on this side of the west side.
All my parents are good.
All your parents are good. That's good. And Mike, we're going to send it back to you, but we're still going to see get some personal stories out here tonight.
Haley, thank you. Glad he's okay. Again, just want to quickly mention before we go over to Cassie, who's been tracking this in the mobile weather unit. Again, there's been a shelter set up for folks who may need it, 123 North Andover Road. I just had a viewer email me saying, surprised no one mentioned that church, that area was destroyed. Of course, in the Andover tornado, we just recognized that anniversary now more than 30 years ago. But this path, coming very close to that path, that tornado did have deaths and much more destruction, but this one plenty destructive in itself. Let's go out to Cassie Wilson, who has been tracking this, driving around, just trying to get us a better picture of the path, and it's so challenging right now because it is so dark. Cassie?
Yeah, Mike, we're dealing with some really limited abilities when it comes to lighting, as you can imagine. But if you're taking a look from our mobile weather lab, you can see the power pole damage in the distance. And that's actually Haley down the block there walking back towards us after her interview. I'm just down the street here on McCandless, right on the corner of McCandless and French Court. I have Ashley Plackey here, and him and his son were in their storm sheltering in place during the event, and I'm going to have him tell us a little bit about what they were seeing and where they went.
Just about 15 minutes of warning and went down our storm shelter, and you know, like they say, you feel that like it sounds like a freight train, and basically went through, and you come up and you don't know what you're going to see. And you know, we lucked out a little bit better than what some of our neighbors did, but we'll just have to start cleaning up.
Yeah, and I can confirm that. You know, we're looking at his house, and it seems almost untouched compared to some of the homes around. Across the street, his neighbor Rick has a workshop that we are seeing almost completely on its side here when it comes to some of the wall structures. Rick was saying, though, that they were out of town, and so none of their family were in the home or the workspace while the tornado hit, and Ashley and his son were sheltering in their tornado shelter. You were telling me a little bit about how this anniversary seemed a little eerie to you, and when you built this home, it's fairly new, you decided to put in that tornado shelter.
Yeah, I mean, live in Kansas and Andover, so it's hit once, so it hit again. I mean, 22 years and 3 days since the 91 tornado, so.
So we're going to continue to try to move around here now that Haley is back in front of the truck here. We're going to try to get some more information and try to survey some more damage, and we will keep you posted. Mike.
Thank you. Let's take a look at a map so we give you a better idea of the area we're talking about. So again, the anchor point on this map, and we've been showing it all night, is that Andover YMCA right there on Kellogg. Just to the east of Andover Road. We've heard from our chasers. They started just south of there, in the Harry Street area. It goes to the north, but we know that the Andover Y was hit and sustained damage. From there, it went to the north and east and then caused more damage. But again, as we talk about the path, very similar area as have just been talking about the anniversary of that other tornado. As we look at this map, Ross Jansen, now that he's finally done tracking as that weather begins to push out of our viewing area, Ross just now getting a good picture of some of the damage and getting to see some of this. Ross, what big takeaways from you tonight?
Well, I think what was so fascinating, and we should remind those of you watching too, we still have some severe weather out there tonight in southeast Kansas. We don't want to forget about Cowley County still dealing with some active weather too. Mostly what we're dealing with right now is 60-mile-per-hour winds. The hail threat has diminished significantly in the last little while, but we still have some of that active weather down in Cowley County. I think what was so striking about all of this tonight is how we went essentially from about 10 miles per hour to 100 in a matter of just 10 or 15 minutes. When the storm was in Wichita, talking with meteorologist Peyton Sanders, we were kind of thinking, the storm didn't really look all that impressive. It
struggled to even organize.
It didn't really look that intense. We had one report of some $half size hail. The rotation, it was really spotty at best. And then as soon as the storm got on the east side of Wichita, and we were kind of watching it, the rotation was fairly weak, and then we heard from Scott Roberts, and he said tornado, and almost instantly when he said that, the warning came out, we were already on, and it just, like I said, it accelerated very quickly in such a short amount of time. But Mike, living in Kansas, we know this sort of thing happens. These storms, we got to be ahead of it, and it's not uncommon to see a storm go from a severe storm to putting down a tornado, and it can happen in seconds. And I think that's probably what got me interested in forecasting weather here in Kansas, is because the situation can change so quickly if the right ingredients are met. And all day we were sitting in sunshine, we had all this humidity, so we felt like if a storm could get itself together and actually go up, it would have a strong likelihood of being severe. And it just took so much of the afternoon, and then finally, here about it was right around 7 o'clock this evening, we started to see the storms go up over Wichita, and it just, there a little while later, organized.
In my time here, because it has been so long since we've had a tornado in the metro area, I don't remember so many angles because it's so populated area that we're just seeing incredible video, incredible pictures to help essentially study this tornado, because we have it from every angle tonight.
And it's, nowadays everybody's got a camera in their pocket, video, so it's not that unusual now to have a very brief tornado. Sometimes it can last 30, 45 seconds, and it's well documented because most of us are out and about, and we carry cameras in our pockets, and we're ready to document whatever happens. And tonight, lots of different angles of the storm, but also I think tonight speaks to our communication.
Yeah.
And what we do in the off season, not just here at Storm Team 12, but all of us in the warning process, we talk about what works and what doesn't work, and it's our ultimate goal that we're all sharing the same information, so that in a situation like tonight, our chaser right there next to the storm sees a tornado, National Weather Service pulls the trigger on a warning, we're on TV. It happens so fast now that alerting the public to dangerous weather takes seconds, and it's what we practice, and we try to make it as effective as we possibly can.
As we saw the video and the pictures from the Y, that the stone wall had come down, the roof collapsed, cars had been shoved and flipped up against the wall. We just had that picture on a minute ago that we were talking, but the house is flattened.
Yeah.
So can you talk to the strength of this tornado, that it is up there?
Yeah, and I think we just really have to wait until we see some of the pictures tomorrow at first light.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what I've seen in my head, and I will say this 100 times over, I am not an expert when it comes to damage assessment. I've been out in tornado damage a few times, but they really have to get through this and comb through it, and the National Weather Service meteorologists that go out and assess the damage will look to see, structure, what kinds of things are they looking at, and then the trees can sometimes too speak to the magnitude. If you're dealing with a 80-year-old oak tree that's snapped off and all that's left is what looks like a toothpick, that can speak to higher EF damage. To me, and again, limited assessment experience with this kind of thing, it looks to me like EF2, perhaps EF3. Of course, the Y is a fairly well-built structure. It's not leveled, but with the top of the building coming in like that, I think we're going to have at least EF2.
And then we have the homes with significant damage as well.
Yeah, and so they'll just have to get through. What I'm really interested to see is the path that this initial tornado took, because that was so interesting, because we saw the initial radar return. It actually traveled up almost to just east of Benton, and looking east of Benton, you could actually see the tornado appeared to be 4 to 5 miles east of there. So we think that was the initial tornado. And then what is not unheard of is for the storm to cycle. And so that initial one goes away. Storm kind of has to get its act together again. And then when it got up by El Dorado, it wanted to produce another brief tornado there. And then it'll also be interesting to see what first light brings tomorrow over by Rosalia, because we know there is damage there. We don't know to what extent or how widespread, but we know the velocity signatures, the wind on radar was incredible. And Taylor Wright, one of our chasers, traveled east, and he could see a cone tornado in that area, so there'll probably be damage out in that direction too.
As far as the direction of the tornado, the travel of the storms, pretty typical for this time of year, though, right?
Mostly moves southwest to northeast. This one had a similar path. It almost looked a little bit more south to north, and then the storm kind of takes a turn to the right, which that too is not unheard of, because storms will usually right turn into the thicker humidity that feeds them. And this storm that produced the tornado in Andover and then went up toward El Dorado was kind of out there by itself. And when the storms form out ahead of the line, they have access to all the humidity. And so they kind of do their own thing. But as we watched and witnessed tonight, as the line of storm absorbed that original tornado-producing storm, it's all over with tonight. But it was out there by itself, had ample of humidity to feed off of. Not a total surprise. We knew the environment was capable of tornadoes tonight. It's unfortunate that it happens in a populated area, and there are people without a home tonight in the wake of the tornadoes that hit in Andover and eastern sections of Butler County. But a lot of humidity out there today. There were just a lot of questions whether or not we would see that many storms pop up, but it only takes one.
And then we see video like this, obviously devastating a couple of neighborhoods there in the Andover area. And Ross, you mentioned it. It is so hard right now because it hit right before the sun went down.
Yeah.
That it's hard to know the damage. We've gotten emails from the Benton area as well asking about damage as it took the path up there, and we just don't know. And understand, as our crews are out there, we can't just go through roadblocks, and some of the roads are closed as emergency crews. We don't want to get in their way either. They help direct us to where we need to be, so we can just pass along some of that information that you need.
And for those that, it's just human instinct. We all want to help.
Yeah.
And tomorrow there will be people showing up wanting to help, and that's fantastic. We appreciate that about Kansans. But here's the deal: you're going to find out in the coming days how you can help. and hopefully we can get people back on their feet right away. But
yeah, don't just go in there. They will set up. They're always very good, especially when it hits a metro area here, because they know everyone is going to want to chip in some way. Maybe it's with money, maybe it's physically going out there and helping, and that will be organized here in the days to come. So right now we just need to let them do their work and make sure they get to everyone. What we really don't know tonight, folks, we have no good information on injuries, as those crews are still out there right now waiting to hear from Butler County, but they're collecting the information. Haley had said that some of the firefighters had indicated that possibly there were injuries. We've checked with the hospitals. They have not had injuries come in as of yet, but that does not mean there haven't been injuries or deaths in this, because we don't know if they've gotten to every home in that area tonight.
And we've had some people asking about, how much of a break are we going to get? We've had chances for storms in for next week. Looks like a little different setup. Of course, severe weather chance, not necessarily at 0 next week, but I think Monday, most of Kansas will be spared the risk.
But you said Monday, we're looking at possible heavy rain, though?
Yeah, most of Kansas will have a threat of some rain, which is probably going to be welcome news for a lot of areas. But south central Kansas will have some potential of severe weather. Probably Wichita on south, what we're thinking right now. And then there'll be another round of storms that might be setting up Wednesday, Thursday. There might be a slightly higher risk, if you will, of some severe weather there, but it is still about a week away and a little bit early to be anywhere concerned with that. But these kinds of things, we think about the risk for today. It was a 3 out of a 5. We knew there was going to be some severe weather. It started up there around the Abilene area with a brief tornado.
And Ross, have we heard damage reports up there that
we
you know
haven't
of
seen
from
anything.
National Weather Service?
No reports of damage that we're aware of from the Dickinson County area. Things calmed down there tonight and have been calming down for the last 2 to 3 hours. So interestingly enough, going into today trying to figure out where we should position our storm spotters and chasers, we had most areas pretty well covered. We thought there could be some tornadoes up in north central Kansas. That never really panned out, except for the warning in Dickinson County. And then, shortly before sunset tonight, things really started to take off around Wichita. Just going back and reviewing how all of this went down tonight is just so striking, how we went from, like I said, 10 miles per hour to 100 in just about 10, 15 minutes. But it is amazing how fast things can change. And fortunately, we had some people in the right area to alert to the fact that this storm is producing a tornado. Sirens, the whole bells and whistles go out to try to get people's attention and let them know that something dangerous
Well,
is
and that's
in the
why
area.
we have storm chasers. You mentioned
Yep.
Scott Roberts had said tornado. Immediately the warning is triggered. We work with the National Weather Service. They look to our chasers.
And radar only gives us one perspective, and we try to keep that in mind, because while radar tonight again was showing a strong thunderstorm, it really didn't have a lot of features that we're looking for in a supercell or tornado producing storm. But again, that's just one perspective of the storm, and when you have the chasers giving a whole different view, then when we can start to sync things up, it just makes alerting you at home that much better, and it makes it's very fast, and it's just amazing how quickly we can get things together and get the word out. But yeah, thanks to Scott for being out there tonight, keeping an eye on him and Lance teaming together to let us know that there was a tornado, and of course we were on TV already and getting the information out about where it's going.
Well, as we wrap up here with Ross, and Ross, just stand by for a second. We're going to go out to our crews. Just want to pass along again some of that important information that if you need shelter, the church there, 123 North Andover Road, and let's get that in front of you, St. Vincent de Paul Church. And as you know, again, we just talked about the anniversary of that deadly Andover tornado. That church itself was destroyed in that tornado, and here it is, just missing this damage, and now is able to provide shelter this time. So several people have made mention of that, and just some of the incredible images from that tornado back then, of the priest and everything back then when that church was destroyed, and of course the mobile home park not far from it. We're going to continue here in the newsroom to try to track down some of the important information, but that in front of you right there, if you have friends or family in that area needing some help, I'm sure they're rolling crews that help organize anytime something like this happens, the American Red Cross, the Salvation Army, they come out. They've done this 100 times, and they know how to get the help where it's needed. But again, if you're wanting to help, really need to hold off right now until Butler County can organize that effort, and they know they'll have plenty of help rolling out there to help out folks who have lost so much tonight. Let's get back out. We do have Haley Tucker and Cassie Wilson. I want to start with Haley again, just getting a better feel from some of the people out there and some of the damage they saw, and also just seeing some of the challenges in navigating out there in Andover. Haley?
Yeah, hey Mike, we are out here right now. Cassie is actually driving our mobile weather lab. I'm gonna show you just what's in front of us right now. So we are just across the road, just north of the YMCA, which I know we've shown a lot of pictures tonight. This area is what was hit. This area sustained the most damage that we have seen thus far. Cassie's going to drive around as we are in the mobile weather lab. We have a camera on top showing you the damage here. I mean, you can see the amount of trees that were just thrown into the road here, as this one right here. Let me try to zoom out just a bit here. You can see this home I was live in front of just earlier. Everyone inside of it is okay. There was no one inside, actually. The fire department came when we first got on scene. We went inside, made sure people were okay or were not in the building. But again, there was no one in this building, thank goodness, because look at the extensive damage. This is in, I believe, the direct path of the tornado here. You can see the garage. You can see inside of the house right here. We have the roof cam that we can kind of zoom in just a little bit. As I'm showing you this, you can see that the walls of the exterior of the top of this home have been blown off, taken off. Cassie's going to continue to drive here as we're trying to maneuver the camera on top of the roof. Give us a little bit of grace here, but I mean, you can see there's a motorcycle inside of that home as well that was thrown on its side. Just extensive tree damage out here. I can see inside of the home here. Again, this is on McCandless, and this is French Court. As we are trying to maneuver our way out, there are logs everywhere around these roads. Again, as Mike was saying, please do not try to come out to this area. I got out here extremely early, right after the tornado hit, just because I live around in this area. So I knew that there was damage. I wanted to get out to make sure that we could tell people how to be safe and what the damage was. But yeah, we're trying to show you here that the lighting.
There's a piece of shed in the tree line over there in the distance.
Okay, so Cassie can see. I'm going to zoom in on this just a tad bit. So there is a piece of shed lining over here that we can see in the tree line. But again, trees just on the ground everywhere, as we can see. We showed you just earlier there was a power pole that was almost on its side with power lines on the ground. Thankfully, we were told that the electricity was cut off, so the power lines weren't hot on the ground, thankfully, because there are people walking around out here. But yeah, I mean, as we continue to go through, you can see there's a house back here in this area. The house doesn't look like it took too much damage, but the amount of trees that are over here in this area. We do have other crews here in Andover as well as we continue back throughout this area, but we have other crews that are going to be checking out City Hall. I was there when I first arrived here to Andover, and it was devastating to see. All of the trees were completely uprooted, as we can see right here. I'm not too exactly sure what that is. Cassie's going to get out of the car and go look. It is a safe area as we are out here, but it looks to be just a shard of metal of some kind. As you can see Cassie down, I'm going to zoom just a little bit lower on this on what she's looking at here. But yeah, I mean, trees uprooted. It is insane. We talked with a man who said he saw the tornado coming directly for his house. He got in the shelter minutes before it hit the homes on the area. Thankfully, he said the west side where his home was is okay. That's where the power line was down. But the east side is what sustained the most damage, as this is what we're looking at right now. That's basically what we've seen so far, Mike, is the tree damage is extensive. There are houses that have been completely torn apart by this, so we're going to continue to try to get some accounts from people to make sure people are okay. Again, I know we've reiterated this, but we talked to firefighters out here. They said there were a lot of injuries. They couldn't go into if they were serious. We are hoping and praying that they are not serious at this time. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of damage out here in Andover, Mike.
Haley, thank you. We've been mentioning the YMCA. We saw video from inside of it. Morgan Hamlin was inside. We have him on the phone. Morgan, can you tell us what you saw as you were in the Y?
Okay, so I was swimming in about, I don't know, I guess right before it hit. I don't know exactly the time, but the lifeguard told us, all right, they're closing the Y because there's a tornado warning. And then about a minute or two later, they came over the intercom, and they're like, everybody needs to run to the locker room as soon as possible because there's a tornado coming right for the pass. And then probably about 30 seconds after that, it was like a freight train, and it was going right over the whole thing. And it went over, kind of quick like tornado does. And then I opened the door and looked out, and everything was all messed up. It basically looked like a war zone from Ukraine, and there was pipes that were letting water everywhere. And I'm not a structural engineer, but I'm pretty sure that the whole Y is probably just going to have to be rebuilt from the ground up again.
Morgan, you said you guys were sent to the locker room. Did everyone go into those locker rooms?
As far as I know, I think everybody made it to there, and I asked some of the police because I got a ride to the Dillons here. That's where I am now. And I asked the police if they had heard any reports of anybody that got hurt, and they said they haven't yet. So that's good news, but I don't know any updates more than that yet.
Well, yeah, and the Y is telling us no one is hurt, which is really incredible as we look at this video from inside the lobby. So you came out of the locker rooms, and then I suppose as we look at some of the video of people, you had to traverse through that damage.
Yeah, we did. And yeah, the front door had cars through it. My car is one of the ones that smashed up against the front up there. So I just kind of walked out through one of the broken windows and walked out of there.
I imagine you immediately. Was your family reaching out to you immediately? And as you look at that damage, pretty incredible that everyone was okay.
Yeah, they were calling me as soon as they could. I'm sure they're watching right now, and they're probably, I don't know, they're probably freaking out because I'm on the news right now.
Yeah, but you got the warning. The YMCA alerted everyone. You said you were in the pool, but there was just enough time to get everyone to where they needed to be.
Yeah, I think we got it just like right in the nick of time, like just barely.
Well, Morgan, we are glad you are okay, and everyone inside, thank you for spending a little time with us tonight. But again, we're glad you're okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a long night. Yeah, we're just waiting at the Dillons until my dad can come pick me up, so we'll see. Might not be until tomorrow morning.
Well, I hope you get picked up, and I hope you're okay. And again, appreciate the information, and sorry for your car loss there too, because we're just seeing some of those incredible images. That was Morgan Hamlin inside the YMCA, walking you through again where this happened. That's where we're seeing some of those incredible images just on the east side of Andover Road there. That's where that Andover Y is. The tornado then heading to the north from there. But again, we're just continue to get new images in tonight. Sedgwick County again has opened its emergency operations center just to help folks. This is a good look at that at the YMCA as it's hit here. So you just heard Morgan explaining that he's in the Dillons parking lot right now, waiting to be picked up. That's where this video is essentially taken. You can see the Dillons over on the right side of your screen. There's an apartment complex there in the foreground. Unclear tonight just how much damage was done to that apartment complex. It is a large unit apartment complex there with many units if you've ever driven past that. So we're hoping that that's okay. But just on the other side, there's a sports complex back there, a school back there, and then the YMCA on the other side. So this is just south of Kellogg. And, you know, from a distance at that point, the tornado didn't look strong, but then you see down toward the bottom, that debris that there was plenty of wind, plenty of strength down toward the bottom. Then it headed to the north, a little bit to the east, as it did go back up into the clouds at a certain point and then dip back down, and we heard our storm chasers talking about that, but we have seen some significant damage as it headed to the north there and damaged some of those homes. And we saw Sean Logging talking to some of those homeowners where it has been, some of those homes have been lost. If you are looking for help tonight, again, you do need to head to that church at 123 North Andover Road, and they will help you out there. That's where they're providing shelter, likely food and water as the Salvation Army or American Red Cross comes in situations like this. We're being told to ask people not to come out to help at this point, that they want emergency crews to have time to get out there, assess the damage, make sure that they have rescued anyone who needs to be rescued, and then tomorrow as the sun comes up, then the cleanup begins. And there will be organization to help with that part of this, that there will be places to go if you want to offer labor, if you want to offer equipment, which if there is a benefit of it hitting a metro area, that a lot of those people are here to help, a lot of those construction companies, and so we'll see a lot of that equipment come in here, but that's the situation now. Craig, do we want to go back out to our crews at this point? As we work, this is video shot by Josh Wells. He was obviously very close. There's a school there in the foreground. Good news, we did hear from him because initial reports were that Andover Central may have taken a hit, and it seems to be fairly intact. They said because it's so dark they can't tell if there's damage up on the roof right now, but Josh had talked, he's on the school board out there, had talked to the school, and initial reports right now is that it may have been spared because the tornado came right through that area. There's a park in that area as well, but we're just seeing many images, many different angles of this tornado come in tonight. All right, some more images here coming in. This all the way from downtown Wichita. We've even seen.
A plane just flew by a tornado.
Yeah, well, he mentioned there. You heard him say a plane just flew by a tornado. We actually saw a image from a plane looking from above as that plane landed here in Wichita. So we've just seen every angle, north, south, east, and west. And there's that image that I was talking about from the air as someone flying into the Wichita area. Just seeing that classic tornado right there, initially forming as essentially a rope, and we heard our chasers talk about how it formed into that classic stovepipe, and that's when a lot of that damage is done. Okay, if we can take a look at the live shot here as Cassie and Haley, I believe we have their live shot up as they're navigating through Andover. They're going to try to head over to City Hall. Because we did hear there were some reports there at City Hall. But I believe we do have their live picture up as our mobile units navigating through there, guys. Yeah. So there's a look. Haley, are you with us? And can you tell us what the situation is just trying to navigate some of those roads?
Yeah, Mike, hey, I'm here. Cassie is driving right now, so we are in the mobile weather lab. We are heading to City Hall. That is where I went when we first got here tonight. It was right after the tornado hit. Like I've been saying, I live right near here. I saw the tornado touch down, immediately came out here to check on people, make sure people were safe, and then to get the word out of where people need to go to get help. So we are currently heading to City Hall right now. We're on Yorktown Street. We're going to turn right here up on, let me see here. Actually, we're going to keep going straight, Cassie. Sorry, we're trying to navigate and talk live right now. But the power is completely...
Like, is this one of the high schools we're going to pass?
I believe so. The power is completely out here, but we can see maybe some lights ahead, maybe at the high school, yeah, that's Andover Central High School that we're looking at right here that does have some lights. But again, we are making our way over to City Hall. I've been saying it all night. The damage there is extensive. I didn't get a good look at the City Hall building. I know the amphitheater is also there, but I did get a look behind City Hall, right by the amphitheater building. I talked with a man there who said his wife has a dance recital there tomorrow, and I asked him, I said, hey, was this already like this? Because it looks like a construction zone. It looks, like something major had happened here prior to the tornado. And he said, no, this was not like this yesterday. This was from the tornado. So again, Cassie and I are making our way over there. As you can see, we just passed Andover Central Park. We might just keep it live here, Mike, if that's all right with you guys and Craig, as we make our way over here. We're going to turn
Haley,
right
we'll just
Central Park.
we'll keep Haley. We're going to keep your shot up there. I do want to pass along some information here as you roll into the park, so just stay with us there. We'll keep your shot up. Getting some information right now from Sedgwick County government. And guys, if we could go ahead and take her mic down, I'm getting a little feedback in. Sedgwick County government, we're continuing to evaluate damage associated with the severe weather in southeast Wichita and Sedgwick County. So they're saying only minor injuries have been reported at this time. Unclear there if we're talking about just Sedgwick County, but they do say in this update, Sedgwick County Fire Department has deployed what they call Task Force 5, and that is to head over and support Butler County and the Andover Fire Departments, so they are receiving mutual aid. As we look at Cassie and Haley's shot here, Ross Jansen joining me, there's a park area there.
That's where the amphitheater.
Yeah, amphitheater, not too far from there. The park, I believe, is just to the west and north of that. But we had heard some damage to the park, and we are seeing some tree damage here, Ross.
Yeah, and we're probably not going to get, obviously, full scale of the damage until first light tomorrow morning, and that's when we'll have a better idea, too, of the path that this tornado took and whether, looks like based on the videos that were coming in tonight, it was on the ground for a pretty solid path. Interestingly enough, Mike, because we got a video in I was just looking at from Stearman Airfield looking south, and the video was quite visible from there. Now, no reports of any damage to Benton, but it passed just to the southeast of Benton, several miles. I think what's interesting to this, too, is just how visible the storm was from many miles around. You were talking about different vantage points of the storm, visible from all angles. This is such a heavily populated area that so many different people saw it, and we're just fortunate tonight that we have not heard of any fatalities. We do know that there are some injuries out there tonight, but again, the initial storm when it started traveled through Andover. We believe it went north of town, and then the initial tornado occluded, or basically lifted, went back up into the parent storm. Then later on, the storm produced another tornado, which we believe was very brief, and that was what was reported on the south edge of El Dorado. Now, we haven't heard any reports of damage in El Dorado or on the south edge of town. And then the third and final part of the storm that would produce a tornado actually went just west and northwest of Rosalia, where we do know Taylor Wright was following that storm on Highway 54. We were able to see a cone tornado from that storm. We do know the rotation was significant. There were power flashes, so we know there's going to be some damage in and around Rosalia, but we don't know to what extent. I think the greatest concentration of rescue and recovery efforts underway there in Andover, so we may not know the full scale of what kind of damage happened on the eastern side of Butler County until some crews are freed up and able to go in that direction.
Just get out in the light as well. So what's our weather situation tonight? They get a break at this point?
Yeah, we're done. The storms are now moving through Chautauqua County, where there's some heavy rain and some wind, but we're down to just about 30 more minutes, and the storms will have cleared our coverage area completely. So by the time we roll in on midnight, it's all in southeast Kansas, and the tornado watch is gone now at this point in time. It's a severe thunderstorm watch. So as the storms race through southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, it's mostly going to be wind and some heavy rainfall. So the situation is calming, and even for the areas that have damage tonight, the wind is not going to be too bad. It is going to pick up tomorrow. It's going to be a pretty windy day. We're thinking gusts around south central Kansas, probably 35, maybe 40. So any loose debris that might be hanging from structures, we need to be thinking about that. Because with those kinds of winds, if something is dangling, it could come down in those kinds of winds. But we don't expect any more thunderstorms through the weekend. And at this point in time, it's really not until Monday that we might be up against some more potential of rain. And even if we were to get some severe weather on Monday, it looks mostly like a hail and wind threat, not necessarily tornadoes with what we're seeing in the scenario that could play out on Monday. It's mainly going to be a widespread rain and thunderstorm situation, but not the kind of intensity that we saw in the storms in the area tonight.
Yeah, and we're seeing our mobile unit drive around. Obviously, some of these areas have been blocked off. This area, we're seeing just appears some minor damage.
Now that looks like the amphitheater there.
Yeah,
or
I'm trying to
maybe-
figure. It's a little hard because of the
Or
dark
maybe that's
here.
City Hall
Yeah,
there.
they are trying to head to City Hall where there
Okay,
was some
so
damage.
maybe
So that may very well be the City Hall area. Some roof damage, but some of those areas obviously more significantly hit than others tonight. But those tornadoes can do.
And if we come out of this event and there were no fatalities, I think it just speaks to the warning process, how well it works, and getting the information out in a quick manner to let people know what's going on. Mostly because I think a lot of people that live in this area, and I get this question a lot, has Tornado Alley shifted away from Kansas? You know, we've gone through the last several seasons with a significant low number of tornadoes. Sometimes just 10, 20 tornadoes, and so people kind of feel like maybe it's moved away from us. We've been seeing areas in the deep south getting hit week after week of severe weather, and I remind people that this sort of thing is going to happen again. We are not out of Tornado Alley. It's the peak of the season around here. We haven't even moved into May yet, which tends to be a very busy month. So this should just serve as a reminder that, yes, severe weather season is here, and no, tornadoes have not moved away from Kansas permanently. This is still very much a likely area where we can get these sort of things to happen. So I bring that up because it's easy to go through a couple of seasons where we don't get a lot of tornadoes, and then you kind of forget about the safety procedures and you tend to let your guard down, only to have a night like tonight remind you that you do got to be ready to move, and sometimes in just a matter of minutes we can go from nothing to tornado happening and damage, and that is what happened tonight. So if we come out of this with no fatalities, I think it really speaks.
Yeah, considering those early numbers, and you can see that wide range of the estimate there on structures damaged, and that's just because it's so early.
And we can repair
50 to
homes,
100,
you know,
yeah.
even we're hoping that the injuries are not life-threatening
Yeah.
or are not significant, but I think, like I said, if we come out of this and there are no fatalities, I think it's really a win for Kansas.
Yeah, I just want to state we have no confirmed reports of fatalities right now. And so that's what we can tell you, but I can't tell you for sure on injuries. I can't tell you for sure on fatalities because we just don't know. But that's what I do know is they have not confirmed any fatalities at this point, so we wait for that information. Ross, as they begin this cleanup effort, we'll go through the weekend here, likely start some of the efforts to organize crews, so then we roll into next week. And then we do have some weather threats that these cleanup crews are going to have to contend with.
Most Monday and then Wednesday night, Thursday will probably be a scenario there where you're dealing with a pretty good chance for some rain coming on through. It won't take very long. The National Weather Service meteorologist will be on this tomorrow doing the assessment, and I would suspect that by tomorrow evening it could be as early as tomorrow afternoon, we'll probably have our early or preliminary EF rating on the tornado. But they're going to have some work to do there. They got to comb through some of this debris to try to get a better idea of how strong the winds were. They'll put the damage up against the pictures, the video that have been shown tonight here on the air, and try to give you an idea of just how strong the winds were. Again, as I mentioned earlier in our coverage, not a damage assessment expert in this sort of thing. Looks to me like EF1, EF2, possible that we could get to 3, but I think unless we find, homes that were completely wiped away, would we move into, something on the upper end of the EF scale. Remembering how the scale breaks down, it starts at EF0, goes to EF5. EF4s and EF5s are considered violent tornadoes or catastrophic situations. EF2s and EF3s would be strong, and then your EF0, EF1, more of the weak tornadoes, which tend to be more common. We have not, by the way, had an EF5 in Kansas since Greensburg in 2007, so some would say we're overdue. This, from what we've seen tonight, does not appear to me to be EF4 or EF5. I think in order for us to get there, we're going to need a home that's completely wiped off its foundation, or perhaps a very old, mature, oak tree that might have been completely snapped off. I have not seen that in the video tonight, but we just don't have a full understanding of how widespread the damage is given time of day. You know, you're going to need some daylight to really get an understanding of how widespread the damage would be. In looking at the video that's come in tonight, you know, the width of the tornado to me looks, I'm not even sure it was a quarter of a mile wide, but I think, as Scott Roberts so eloquently put it earlier tonight, it's really not the size of the tornado when it moves into a populated area, because you can have a rope-like structure tornado and it can do some pretty incredible damage. So appearance of the tornado is not everything. You have to go in and kind of look and see what's been damaged, what's been left behind, and that will help you determine what the EF ranking is going to be for this storm. Even though in that video there looks fairly skinny, very narrow, again, we can't use
can
appearance.
Still do the damage.
Yeah, we can't.
Ross, stand by. Let's check in with Haley and Cassie out there because they did roll through. I believe that was City Hall. Haley, can you tell us, it looked like some tree damage out there?
Yeah, Mike, so here with Cassie in our mobile weather lab. So we are near City Hall. We are pulling up. Is this the lodge, Cass?
This is the lodge.
Yes, so we just talked with, I believe, the city manager of Andover. I mean, take a look at this. You can see windows completely busted out. The roof, as you can see, is gone from what we can see from our vantage point. Cass, what are you seeing?
So the good news here is we drove by City Hall and we drove by the library, and we have minimal damage being reported there. Now the tree line just to the south is completely destroyed, and that was a fairly thick tree line, so it does look like the tornado moved through here, hitting the lodge, but then it did a complete miss almost of City Hall and the library. The good news is we're also seeing the tornado shelter in the distance. The lights were on, and the city official that we spoke with said that they had crews out here immediately. They have 0 reports of injuries or fatalities in the park area here, and that tornado shelter is in place still. So some good news here that City Hall is still holding. There's no damage to report there. The library, but this lodge structure that we're parked in front of, Haley, if you can move the camera up to the roof. I'm not sure if we'll be able to make it out with how dark it is, but there you go. If you go to the right a little, you can see that there's significant damage here. We're also being told by the official with the city that there's multiple vehicles that have been pulled and turned over, so we're going to attempt to try to find that. So as I put the vehicle back and drive, I'm going to hand it to Haley.
Yeah, and Cass, just look at this as well. As I zoom in and move it over, you can see what looks to be insulation with the building here that was ripped out from the ceiling. Obviously, we are not going to get closer because we don't know what's over here. But I'm gonna zoom back out. Cassie's gonna maneuver back towards the tree line that Mike was talking about when he first pitched out here to us. You can see the door has been blown out as well here at this lodge building, but there are emergency crews out here. We were told that power lines were down, many trees were down. I mean, just take a look at this. We were told there was a very extensive tree line here. Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier, folks, with the fact that I had to ask if this was a prior construction zone. I mean, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so you can get a full picture of what we're taking a look at. But again, this is right by the amphitheater, City Hall in Andover, the public library. It was directly hit by this tornado, as you can see. Cass, just explain, I mean, you're the meteorologist here, but what kind of a wind damage what kind of wind speeds would do damage like this?
I mean, it's hard to quantify until we see daylight and the National Weather Service gets out here to survey some of the damage, but this is definitely significant damage. And you did mention the amphitheater, and I do want to point out we did ask if the amphitheater received any damage because we know that is a pretty expensive building that was recently put in, and he did say that it does look like the amphitheater didn't sustain any significant damage, but there are portions of the roof area that are not up to code, is how he put it. So the tree line here, it does look like it took most of the damage. So I think we are looking at a one of the best case scenarios here with the City Hall area, that the tree line, the surrounding areas, the lodge that is more of a rental building versus a regular use building took the damage, versus City Hall and the library are still in picture perfect shape. I'm going to try to drive over there so Haley can narrate maybe as we drive over to those structures to show you that they're still in good shape.
We'll keep
All right,
your
Mike,
live
we're
shut
going to
up
send it back to you
Yep.
as we continue to survey the damage out here by City Hall.
Yep, we do have some new information to pass along. We are now expecting an update from the fire chief there in Andover at the midnight hour. So our crews will head there so we get some better information. On the bottom of your screen right now, you're seeing 50 to 100 structures damaged. We need to remove that because we're just getting an update. That is from Sedgwick County only, the 50 to 100. So obviously a lot of this damage in the Butler County area. So we are looking at more damage than just 50 to 100. That number coming from United Way, they were able to determine in the Sedgwick County area, and even that itself a fairly wide range. But again, we are waiting for Andover Fire Chief, and that's where we will get really our first official update tonight, Ross. So hopefully that's some good news. We did talk to the hospital, Wesley, and they said they had a few people drive to the hospital with some minor injuries. So as we talk about injuries, that's what we know right now, Wesley telling us a few people.
Have a count on injuries,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no count on injuries. So, but again, that 50 to 100 structures, that comes from United Way here in Sedgwick County. Also just getting an update here from the governor, signing a state of disaster emergency declaration. Reading this here as we're on the air here, saying an intense springtime storm moved across Kansas tonight. Strong straight line winds, as well as spawning multiple tornadoes causing damage. So Governor Kelly declaring a state of emergency effective tonight. That declaration activates the disaster response and recovery portions of the response plan here in Kansas. So that authorizes state resources and those local jurisdictions to respond to this on a statewide level. The State Emergency Operations Center, it says, has received several reports of damages, ongoing efforts to rescue as well. Power lines, homes, outbuildings have been damaged or destroyed. So again, Governor Kelly right now just taking in some of this information and already declaring a state of emergency. And essentially what that does is just free up some of the red tape, allows crews to move a little faster, and frees up some of that money should it be needed.
And I think it's interesting too, as they drive around, they're really not much indication of power. So it looks like widespread power outages.
You know, we checked in with Rachel, at least 13,000 earlier without power. Going back to some of that damage here that we saw. We heard from that man inside the Y who was swimming at the time, and they said they got to shelter just in time that the warning was issued, Ross, and the Y apparently did a fantastic job of moving people and moving them quickly and getting them into the locker rooms, because looking at the video of the lobby and knowing that there had to be a lot of people there, and there had to be people out in the parking lot as well, or maybe there weren't, but you see the power of that storm knocking those cars up against the building.
Yeah, the tornado warning was issued tonight, and it all kind of flared up right over Wichita, and the tornado warning came out about the same time that Scott Roberts contacted us and said tornado, and we were really fortunate tonight to get that information out just as quickly as possible. But we know that in situations like this, when it comes to Kansas thunderstorms, the situation can change very quickly, and tonight, although on radar the storm looked like it may have some hail with it, it certainly took on a mind of its own once it got east of Wichita. We had one report, quarter-size hail, then we had a report of some half-dollar size hail from near downtown, and then almost right as it crossed over into western Butler County, we started to get the report of the tornado, and Scott was right there underneath of the storm and could confirm there was a tornado, and warning comes out, and we're really fortunate that people responded quickly to the warning. That's what it's there for, to create a sense of urgency, because, I don't know what the percentage would be. We hear about tornado warnings all the time and nothing happens. But setup tonight a little bit different. We thought there was a chance that we could get a few tornadoes, and we certainly had that. right there in Butler County, where the majority of them happened tonight. We had one tornado that touched down, one tornado that was observed up in Dickinson County that was near the Carlton area, and then we had the majority of the tornadoes confirmed tonight in Butler County, which has obviously, as you see there on your screen, led to some damage, several structures damaged, some of them extensively. We'll probably find out so much more tomorrow morning at first daylight how widespread it was. It would appear to me that the tornado may be 1/4 of a mile wide at its peak, but looking at some of the video tonight, you know, when you're out spotting a tornado, this looks cone-shaped, stovepipe. We heard both of those references tonight. That initially starts out as a rope tornado. That moves into more of a stovepipe structure there. Not really a wedge. When we think of wedge, which is, you know, something that has hit Andover in the past 31 years ago, thinking about those that remember and recall that night, that would be more of a wedge tornado. This more of a stovepipe. But
that classic
remember,
tornado look.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that you would see probably more common. Violent tornadoes, you have to remember, the wedge tornadoes, the violent tornadoes make up less than 2% of all tornadoes that we have in Kansas. So they are still rare. Even though when people think about Kansas tornadoes, they probably think of the higher end wedge tornadoes. Those are still somewhat rare. Here in Kansas, we tend to get the rope or the stovepipe tornadoes more frequently, and that appears to be what hit the Andover area tonight. Scott Roberts seemed to indicate that the tornado was probably on the ground for almost 15 minutes, and when it's tracking through a heavily populated area like that, it's really not a surprise that we're seeing so many damaged structures. It's hard to get a tornado to touch down in this area and not have it hit something, and for it to be on the ground for as long as it was. You know, again, we're gonna probably find even more damaged structures, and it'll be interesting too, Mike, to see how far away was some of that damage carried tonight. How far outside of Andover did some of the debris land? That too can give us a little bit of a strength or an indication of how strong the storm was.
Our crew's heading to meet the fire chief right now, the Andover fire chief, letting us know